To get underway and a choice of listening. You can hear full commentary of Celtic against Hibs on digital, online at BBC Sports Sound, BBC Radio Scotland Extra on your smart speaker and on BBC Sounds. If it's open all mics that you fancy, that will be on BBC Sounds, FM and online.
Every goal.
What a goal!
Every game.
That is right out of the top drawer.
Every kick of the ball.
It's a terrific finish.
This is Sports Sound.
It's absolutely tremendous.
From BBC Radio Scotland.
Welcome to Open All Mics with a flurry of goals early on the programme last weekend. Let's hope for more of the same this afternoon. Plenty of debates coming up. We'll talk more about that VAR experience we had midweek. It's a great setup that we have. That comes into play in Scottish football from next weekend. We'll also discuss, I think it's important to discuss Lee Johnson, the job he's doing at Hibs. Again, we could perhaps touch on our European performances. A few listeners getting in touch on that. We've been round the top flight grounds for the team news there. We've heard from some of the managers on Sports Sound this afternoon. We're with you right through until 6 o'clock. Lots of reaction to come between 5 and 6, and we'll look ahead to two huge games tomorrow afternoon. Full coverage of these matches on Sports Sound. We heard from Chick there, a delayed start at Capello Morton against Wraith Rovers. Let's then go round some of the championship grounds just to get a build up to these games here, starting off with Cove Rangers against Inverness Cally Thistle. There for us is Kenny Crawford.
Yeah, good afternoon everyone. Really delighted to be here, second week in a row watching Cove Rangers. I was down at Kirkcaldy last week. It was a no-show from Cove really, Wraith winning that one 3-0, so Cove will be eager to get into the top half of the table. That's what a win would bring them today, whereas Inverness Cally Thistle, they're seeking their 5th league win on the bounce. They've only conceded 2 goals in their last 4 championship games. Billy Dodd's doing really well, of course, against his old friend Jim McIntyre in the dugout for Cove Rangers. Billy Dodds and Jim McIntyre together at a few clubs. Ross County probably the longest spell there together as a management team, now against each other, and really looking forward, Kenny, to seeing how this one pans out this afternoon.
Thank you to Kenny Crawford. We heard from Derek Ferguson there in a European debate. Who's got a great start?
St Johnstone. It's a ball over the top. Stevie Mays on it with his left foot, hits it across the goal. Keepers dive in just wide of the target. Hopefully that's the start of things to come here.
Let's hope so. Let's hope for plenty of goals this afternoon. Hamilton Accies and Partick Thistle, going by their performances, were both clubs last weekend. Derek Ferguson, we could see plenty of goals this afternoon.
Yeah, hopefully, Kenny. We'll just get underway, about a minute gone. Strange to see it's top versus bottom. Accies rock bottom at the moment after that absolute doing that got last week against Greenock Morton, 5-0. So I would imagine by a lot of work done midweek defensively, see if they can shore that area up. But they're against a Thistle side with plenty of flair in that side. Obviously, Brian Graham leading the line up top, and just behind them, they're going with the likes of Bannigan, Docherty, Lawless, McKinnon, Fitzpatrick. So I think Hamilton going to have their work cut out today, Kenny.
Thanks to Derek. Good afternoon to Craig Easton. Craig, you're at Dens Park this afternoon. Dundee against Ayr United.
Good afternoon, Kenny. I'm looking forward to this one here. We've got Dundee sitting in 5th and Ayr United sitting in 2nd, only 3 points behind. Dundee are only 3 points behind the top 4 teams in the league. There's only one change from Gary Boer's side, and it's Ryan Sweeney coming in for Lee Ashcroft. Ayr United are unchanged under Lee Bowen, and hopefully we've got a cracker here at Dens Park today.
A couple of early goals in Scotland. Stirling Albion on a terrific run of form. They've gone 1-0 up away to Stenhousemuir. Dale Carrick in the 3rd minute, and Bonnyrigg Rose 1, East Fife 0. Callum Connolly in the 2nd minute there. So Rory Law, you're at Celtic Park. We heard John Collins say 2 very different ways for the Hibs manager to approach this game this afternoon. What have you seen so far there?
Well, they've lined up 4-1 as we expected, and they've started the game well. Celtic have given the ball away loosely a couple of times, which doesn't like them, straight from kick-off, as they've got a wee chance here. Hatate gets, he's wasted it, too high with the cross. So Hibs have started well. To be fair, the one surprise I would say from a Celtic point of view is Matt O'Reilly's retained his place at the bottom of the midfield, the base of the midfield, front screen in front of that back 4, and you've got Aaron Moy ahead one. He's given the ball away a couple of times already, Moy. He's got a bit more creative licence up there, but he needs to move the ball a little bit quicker. He's a fantastic player, as we all know, good technician, but he's looked a yard off the pace. Even in the first few minutes here, the crowd have had a few rumblings, but no big chances to speak of so far, but Hibs have started pretty well.
Elgin City 0, Forfar 1, Ben Armour in the 3rd minute, Annan 0, Stranraer 1, Paul Woods in the 2nd minute there. Let's then get to St Mirren Park. Jim Duffy is watching St Mirren against Kilmarnock. How is it going in the early stages here, Jim?
Yeah, well, it's been all Kilmarnock in the first couple of minutes, Kenny, and I think Ash Taylor missed a decent chance. There was a cross come in. I think it was Jordan Jones to get the ball wide. Cross come in, and Ash Taylor, who'd been up for a set play and stayed up ahead of him for 6 yards, but couldn't get above it, and eventually the ball went over the bar. But certainly at the start of the game, it's been mostly Kilmarnock, and Derek McInnes will be delighted with the start of his team.
You were telling us, Alan, that an early flurry there from Stevie May. Have Livingston got back into things there?
Yeah, they have. They've got their foot on the ball and they've managed to win themselves a corner. Obviously, Guthrie is up there with Nubla, who's been in terrific form. They just need to score goals. They certainly create chances, and they'll be hoping, Davy Martindale will be hoping that they can take them, but they've got a corner in the early part of the game.
And Ross County against Dundee United. Michael Stewart saying they're a decent run of form at last for Dundee United, and a much needed win last weekend for County. How would you assess County's start to the season? Again, a big rebuild was required from Malcolm Mackay, and that takes time.
Yeah, it does. There's no doubt it's far from ideal when you're losing the players that they lost at the top end of the park. It came up with so many goals and creative moments for them, and on the face of it, the guys that they'd brought in, to begin with, they looked as if they could have been good replacements, but they've obviously not been able to score as many goals as Charles Cook and Hungbo as well in particular. And it will take time. Malcolm Mackay's always got a side that are well organised, and I suppose the one thing that they can fall back on a little bit of comfort is that last season they didn't start particularly well, but they grew as the season went on. The difference this year is, though, that the rest of the sides around are not going to be anywhere near as inconsistent as they were last year. So the chances of trying to sneak into the top 6 would be, I think, slim to none. But certainly for Ross County, I don't see them as a team that will go down this year, but they need to start growing in confidence as this season starts to take shape.
Livy have got the ball in the back of the net, but the offside flag goes up. Good play with Hambu on the right hand side. The rolls in Guthrie, but it's clearly offside. He puts it away. The keeper doesn't even dive. He knows the flag's going up.
Michael Rory is watching Hibs at Celtic Park this afternoon. What have you made of Hibs under Lee Johnson? It was a poor start and obviously very, very disappointing in the League Cup, but he's got them up to 3rd in the table and going very nicely at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, he's been able to come up with some, and I said this right early on as well, big moments that allow, psychologically the team to grow and belief as well. But the shape of this team has started to come to the fore as well. They seem to get a little bit more of a settled lineup now. They've got a massive squad. But for me, I think the next round of fixtures will give a greater idea of what Hibs are going to be like this season. 3rd place, disappointing result obviously against Dundee United, with the chance to stretch that lead in 3rd position. I would imagine that whereas at the start of the season I wasn't sure whether top 6 was definite or not, I think from what I've seen, that's assured that I see them getting in the top 6, and they probably will be there or thereabouts for Europe. Whether they can actually do it, as I said, the next round of fixtures will be a lot more telling.
Kenny, sorry, Michael talked about continuity and team selection and things. Today is the first time Lee Johnson's changed his starting 11 in the last 5 matches, so he started with the same team 4 weeks in a row, which has definitely helped as well, I would say, just to build on what Michael's saying and give you an idea of how consistent his team lineup's been, because that's quite rare these days for any side, to be honest.
It's absolutely, isn't it, Alan? And perhaps that's why they're doing so well. Hearts, of course, don't have that luxury at the moment. Is there a real battle, do you think, Alan, for top Edinburgh side this season?
I think, yeah, without a doubt. I think Hearts will, as Michael's touched on in the chat earlier, Hearts will get better after the World Cup. You'll have Beningame will be back, Halkett will certainly be back. You'll have Rowells will be back as well, and these are all starters for Hearts. Yes, Boyce is out for the rest of the season. Humphreys is starting to... there's a chance here for Stevie May. Great save. Keeper's out. It's a short header back by Devlin. May's onto it, but Shamil George comes out, makes himself big. May's got to score. Has to score. What an opportunity. St Johnstone have started really well. Shot off the underside of the bar and out. That'll be one for VAR when it comes, but I think for me it just does not go over the line, but hits the underside of the bar from Murphy. Livy, what a start.
Livy riding their luck a wee bit there, Alan. Brilliant save from George. He comes out well, makes himself big. He'll get a look at it again. Hopefully the VAR, as you're saying, off the crossbar.
No goal line technology.
I think it comes out. It certainly hits the underside of the bar, but for me it doesn't cross the line.
Alan, that's an interesting point that Tom makes. How we were told at this presentation on Thursday, actually the goal line technology is more expensive than actually the implementation of the VAR system. Yes.
Goal for Celtic, and it's James Forrest. Haksabanovic has looked the sharpest man on the pitch so far, Kenny. The ball gets worked out to him on the left-hand side. He cuts inside Can, feeds the ball to the back post, and James Forrest taps it in with the side foot on the volley into the side net. It's Celtic 1, Hibs 0.
That's a good finish from Forrest. Kenny, just looking at it there, I'll get a replay of it, I'm sure, just in a second, but it looks far too easy. All the same, Rory, because he's just wandered in at the back post.
Yeah,
he's not under an awful lot of pressure to be able to go and cushion it into the back of the net as James Forrest does, and I'm sure that will do him the world of good as well. Certainly a player that has had very limited game time, you would need to say. Times his movement actually perfect. Not to go on about VAR, but it probably would be an offside that would be looked at because it's very marginal, but to me it looks as if he times it to perfection. He just checks left, drops right, and what a wonderful delivery it is.
He's been the best player on the pitch so far. Haksabanovic, really sharp, really good in possession, doesn't waste much, and it was a great ball, like you say, Leon.
I have to say, Tom, a bit concerned that since he joined us on Sports Sound on the road, Stevie May's got a bit off the boil. He's missed a couple of great chances the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's the old Sports Sound curse, Kenny. It strikes again. Hopefully Stevie May can score a goal soon and overcome it.
It's a goal for Cove Rangers, but it's been disallowed. It was Mitch Megginson headed into the bottom right-hand corner from Shea Logan's free kick, but referee Graham Granger has spotted something and it's ruled out, so still Cove 0 and Inverness Cali Thistle 0.
As I told you earlier, just Annan 1-0 up at home to Stranraer. Dumbarton a goal down at home to Albion Rovers. Dumbarton, what a start they made to the season. Down in England, an early goal there. Dominic Solanke has Bournemouth 1-0 up away to Fulham, and the first goal in the top flight this afternoon brought to us by Rory at Celtic Park, Leanne, and a rare start for James Forrest.
It is a rare start, yeah, and I'm sure, as I say, it will do him the world of good to get back in the side, and it just shows you this Celtic side as well. I don't know how many times that is this season that they've scored within the opening 15-20 minutes of the game. That goal comes after 10 minutes, I think, Rory. And it's just the quick start that the fans now expect at Celtic Park.
Yeah, Hibs have looked lively though, Kenny, to be fair. Ryan Porteous just had a header there, which was never going to beat Joe Hart, but they ventured up the pitch a few times, and they'll take confidence from that, so that'll be what the most frustrating thing for Lee Johnson.
But it's the game plan goes out the window, because you know, as any team like Hibs would have prepared, try and not concede early, stay in the game for as long as you possibly can, and after 10 minutes you're pegged back already.
I'm sure those ball boys in the MI5, Leanne.
Tom, I know you were on a wee look earlier on, some quotes from the Hibs manager, Lee Johnson. He was speaking with a man that's been very much in the headlines this season, Ryan Porteous. He said some interesting comments this week.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a couple of goes at this, saying that, you know, Ryan Porteous will be hounded out of Scottish football because of the flack that he gets. Spoke about some hate letters, which is obviously horrible that he's been getting. You know, I don't know what to make of all of this, you know. I mean, Ryan Porteous is a fine player, but he's a controversial player, and everyone knows why he's a controversial player. All of this stuff about, he's going to be hounded, he needs protection. That was the other one. He needs protection, as if he's a kind of shrinking violet. He's not. He's a very aggressive player. That's part of why he's such a good defender. Don't get it. You know, he's not signing a new contract. Looks like he's going to be away. Is this Hibs? Is this Lee Johnson's way of preparing the ground, saying, he was hounded? It's nothing to do with us as a club. He was hounded out of Scotland. I just think that his language is a little bit odd.
Well, what do you make of that, Jim Duffy? What do you make of these comments from the Hibs manager?
Yeah, it's exactly what Tom's saying there. I think it's just preparing the Hibs fans, for the fact that they're never going to really keep him, never going to be able to afford them. He's wanting to leave, he's wanting to go and test himself at a higher level. All of those things are fine, but don't say you'll be hounded out. Listen, there's a lot of guys over the years, that have had a lot more stick and a lot more negative publicity than Ryan Ryan Porteous, and they stayed in Scotland. You know, Scott Brown being one of them. So Neil Lennon, there's a number of them, you know, that they stayed. So I think it's just a trying to deflect the fact that there's no way that he's going to sign a new contract.
Big chance for Aki's here, Kenny. They've been the better side. It's Ngando. He's straight through the middle of that Thistle defence. 1v1 with the keeper. Tell you what, keeper comes out and makes a terrific save. But what a reaction John Rankin's got in this first 12-13 minutes. They're getting stuck in. Obviously Chick was at the game last week, you know, but I didn't see that, and you look at the result, 5-0, absolutely get battered, but not this afternoon, not in these early stages of this game, because they've been certainly the better side and create the first real chance. Should have been 1-0 to Accies.
Yeah, well, we'll bring Chick in there, because Chick did an interview with John Rankin last week. Chick, it was very, very strong. Before we get that, just about get underway there at Capello.
Yeah, we just, for anyone who's just joined the programme, the news, of course, that the game's been held up for 15 minutes because Wraith Rovers' team bus was held up with a road traffic accident, not the bus, but the aftermath of that at the eastern end of the M8. The players, 3 players in the starting 11 on that bus, they're all good to go now. They're very pretty in pink, and of course there's the giant figure of John Fredrickson. He is a tall dude starting up front for Wraith Rovers, as I said, that pink shirt. An interesting one here, of course, Ross Milne playing for Wraith Rovers is the son of the Morton assistant Andy Milne. We're underway at long last, Kenny. It's Morton playing from left to right, and yes, absolutely, if they performed it last week, Hamilton were absolutely dreadful. I think Derek was in tears listening to me last week. But they were as bad as Morton were good. I think Wraith Rovers will prove much more difficult. I tell you what, all you guys and the ex-players in this programme, I don't think you'd like to face this big. This is the first time I've seen him in the flesh. Fredrickson, 6'8". See what he's like.
Kenny Crawford was telling us about him last week. I think he was on the bench last weekend for Wraith Rovers. Thistle, of course, strong favourites this game today, despite losing last Friday night. I was chatting with Ross Docherty, the Thistle captain, on Sunday. He was showing me a video, a different angle of that penalty award that they didn't get up at the Caledonian Stadium. I have to say, it looked a very, very strong shout. Certainly the pictures we saw on the television screen last weekend, you couldn't go with any definite assessment on that, but look at the angle that he was showing me, it looked a hard call that they didn't get a penalty there, but goalless so far in that game. What then about let's go to Craig Easton, Dundee against Ayr United. The early stages here, Craig.
Early stages, both teams have had a couple of chances. Dundee probably the best of them. A deflected back heel from Zach Rudden, deflecting a shot towards goal. Apart from that, we've now got a corner here with Ayr United. They've just had quite a promising attack, and it comes to nothing though. But Dipo Akinyemi, hat-trick hero from last week, has been causing problems. He was linking the play up, trying to bring Logan Chalmers and Brad Young into the play. So yeah, we've got a pretty attacking game on our hands at the moment, but no goals so far.
Alan, what did you make of these comments from Lee Johnson in terms of Ryan Porteous?
I think he's got to defend his player if he feels that he's getting harshly treated. Sometimes I don't think Ryan, over the period, has helped himself as a young boy, but I think he's getting older, he's more mature, and he's getting himself out the limelight, off the pitch, which is the right thing to do. He's a really good young international defender. Hibs will still be trying to get him to sign a contract if they can, because it would be dreadful for them if he was to walk out the door for nothing. It really would.
What level do you see him going to if he did move?
I think Championship in England, he could go down and play down there. I don't think he's quite ready yet for the Premier League in England, but I think Championship certainly.
Michael, would you agree with that? Is that the level that he should be looking at?
If I was him, I'd be trying to look to go abroad. I think that he's the sort of centre half that would do well on the continent. He's very comfortable and composed on the ball. The obvious one caveat or criticism that down south would give us that he's no 6'4". But if I was him, I'd look to try and fancy and try my hand at going and playing on the continent, because I do think his style of play would be good there.
Good save for Man U. He got a 5'9".
It's a good ball. It's a goal. 2-0 to Celtic. Ryan Porteous, the man you're discussing, stands in the middle of the box with his hands out, wondering how it came about. It came down the left-hand side again. It's a wonderful ball, flashed across the face of goal, and they're sniffing out his goals as Georgios Giacomakis with a great finish into the side of the net, and it's Celtic 2, Hibs 0.
It's all about the delivery again,
wonderful.
Rory. Wonderful, yeah, absolutely class. It's just played in behind the Hibernian defence, so difficult to defend against because the pace in the ball. Giamakis has run his time to perfection. It's a side foot finish again, but perhaps far too easy. Is the Hibs line, in your opinion, maybe a bit high to start with? Rory, coming that transitional moment.
In general, Giacomakis has played on the shoulder, which you would expect Kyogo to do, but he's running behind and threatened a few times, Leanne, but for me that looked well onside.
Yeah, no, it's definitely onside, no doubt about it. I don't know who it is that's running alongside two Celtic players going towards that ball. I think the highest player could have been offside, but it's not the player that interferes.
Yeah, Porteous is almost looking at his goalkeeper Marshall to come out, but I don't think there's any way. I think you just got to put it down to a fantastic ball.
Yeah, as if anything, Hibs have just not dropped quickly enough that they've got caught with the pace.
Oh, sorry, just a great strike here at Dens Park. It was a nicely weighted pass into the path of Jordan Marshall, and the left back strode forward and hit his shot first time, and it was flying into that top corner, but it just skimmed the top of the bar, and Ayr United get a wee bit of a let off there.
So Celtic off an absolute flyer at home to Hibs. Just staying with Hibs, Tom, in terms of an off the park situation that developed this week. Just talk us through what happened and your thoughts on it.
Oh, it's a chance, it's a chance, it's a... Oh! Goal for Inverness Cali Thistle. It's Stephen Boyd.
Synchronised.
I don't know if you're listening to me.
Is this the Brazilian Premier League?
Take it away.
It was a really good move by Inverness Cali Thistle down the left-hand side. Billy Mackay was involved. He put it across to Stephen Boyd just on the edge of the box, and Stephen Boyd returned the favour and put it to Mackay down right almost at the byline. Mackay squared it across, and there was Boyd again. They linked up so well, and he's knocked it in from about 2 yards. So it's Inverness Cali Thistle 1-0 up against Cove Rangers.
That was another big chance, Kenny. It was just a long ball from Aki's over the top. Andy Ryan's onto it, outpaces the centre back. Keeper comes out and he just lobs it over the keeper. It takes one bounce, and we know what the surface is. It's the AstroTurf, and just bounced over the bar. So I thought it was going to be the opening goal for Aki's there, but not to be.
Yeah, you would have to say that's been a heck of a job done by John Rankin this week. We get something out of the game, given the performance we saw last week, given the criticism of his players after that game and the interview he did. Yeah,
I was just going to say, don't speak too early, because Law is just meandering his way into the box there and just let a shot go, but it was well blocked. But no, it's been a good reaction from the Aki's players this afternoon. I felt that maybe the head goes down a little bit, but no, what a reaction. They're on the front foot again, and they're causing Thistle problems this afternoon.
Yes, Jim.
Sorry, I was at again Kilmarnock on the attack there. Daniel Armstrong giving it to Alabusi, who's the right wing back, and he strode forward, checked onto his left foot, and just called a shot, and it was only inches past the far post. But Kilmarnock have certainly been the better side in the opening period of this game.
Dumbarton have equalised at home to Albion Rovers. Stuart Carswell with the goal there. Cooney the South are 1-0 up at home to Peterhead Ewan East in the 21st minute. So Tom, just run us through what happened off the field with Hibs this week.
Yeah, it goes back to the Dundee United v Hibs game and an alleged racist incident against a Hibs player, supposedly by a Dundee United fan. It blew up on social media. I think Marvin Bartley may have been the first to post a series of tweets and a bit of video on it. And at first sight, it looked very, very troubling. And then we know about other angles that appeared. I've seen them. Seen all the other angles. It's very clear that it's not what it looks like. So Dundee United, Hibs come out, they backtracked, they did a U-turn, and they said no, they were wrong to come out and say that it was what they thought it was. So fair play to them for that. They backtracked, and I think it's very important, very critical that we call out racism when it happens and we deal with it. It's also important that we get it right. And if somebody says this is racism and it doesn't turn out to be racism, I think if you have tweeted to this effect, you need to come out and say, correct the record.
Speak up with Marvin Bartley.
I'm talking about Marvin, who's, spoken very powerfully about some of the hideous incidents that we've had. But he needs to come out and say, no, actually, I was wrong here, because it's very clear that it was not a racist.
That's the problem I've got, Tom. I saw that when that was circulating, that the first video on social media the night of the game, and I saw comments, I saw Hibs fans saying, look, I can tell you I was at the game. Yeah. That's not what was said. that's not what was said, but the statement came out very, very quickly.
Is it a goal? Yeah, it's a goal. Is it a third goal for Celtic? As it's crossed the line, they weren't sure. It comes from Morris Jens. He passes the ball out to Haksabanovic. He goes down the line, crosses chaos. Carden is in knots. He gets the ball into the box. It drops down to O'Reilly. He shoots, bounces back out to James Forrest. He then shoots, and it's a shocker for David Marshall. He should catch that every day of the week. He drops it in his own net, and the linesman sprints back to the halfway line. As it's Celtic 3, Hibs 0.
There's a comical bit here, Leanne, for you to watch. Jason Holt's on the ball. Nobody near him, and he just falls. He stubs his toe in the AstroTurf, a bit like Craig Gordon last Sunday.
Actually, that's funny. Well, not funny at all, but it's curious. The same thing's happened here, Alan, and it's Jamie Gowan. They're nowhere near the ball. He just went down. The game's been held up. I don't know what time I'll get out here tonight. This game's been held up again for a long time. He's had to go off and replace for Dylan Easton. It is not Raith Rovers' day, and this game could finish about Sunday lunchtime.
Kenny, you're talking about the racism. Have a look at Ivan Toney's Twitter from last night. Scored 2 goals against Brighton. Wonderful football player. Abused, racially abused online. Horrific, absolutely horrific.
Absolutely, Alan, and it's horrendous, and it needs to be called out, and I suspect it's on the rise. And we in the media have a duty to call it out, but we need to be right. And
this is right, Tom. Make no mistake. This is right.
I think what Tom said, Alan, is in relation to the one during the week in Scotland.
No, you have to be right. When you're accusing someone,
exactly.
You have to be spot on.
And you're also accusing people by association there, but people are not calling it out. And I just think by putting the statement out so quickly, without getting a hold of all the evidence, that was a mistake.
Hibs will feel that they were certain that this was racism.
Of course.
So that's why they issued the statement, but they were wrong, and they retracted. So fair play.
But look, I'm at a game here between Dundee United and Ross County. The same thing happened last year, and nothing was done about it afterwards when it turned out that actually nothing had happened. You know, we're like, honestly, social media and that whole environment is just utterly toxic. Everybody's so quick to call everybody out, and on occasions, as Tom said, he's quite right. When things have been wrong, people need to step up and say that was wrong, because guilty by association, absolutely. Folk are being hung, drawn and quartered, and they've not actually done anything wrong on occasions.
You don't need to be quick with this kind of stuff. You need to be right.
Yeah. Well, you need to be as swift with your apology as you were with the accusation. If you're wrong.
Absolutely, and that's. I think the point that Tom's making there, that's so far.
I don't want to be beaten up at Marvin Bartley. I mean, he's called out a lot of racism cases that were racism, and I salute him for that, absolutely. But in this one, there needs to be a clarification and a correction.
You're right, Tom. And by the way, but for me, the bigger picture is here that everybody is so quick to, it's almost just like. It's such a toxic environment to try to actually have an adult conversation with things. Yeah. These things are serious, but equally you can't go around saying certain things and not actually have been in the full, in possession of the full facts. And apologies are, people are being cancelled left, right and centre for things that haven't even happened nowadays.
Michael, is that a case of being first than being right?
Absolutely. But that is the world that we live in. I was just going to say, last year Tam Courts was heralded as some sort of hero, and not to say that he was doing anything maliciously, but the problem was it was incorrect. He accused Ross County supporters of shouting racist abuse onto the park. It didn't happen, and nothing was really done about that in the aftermath.
Yeah, a very good point, Michael. And as I say, it was an interesting one this week. No comment from Hibs today. We tried to get some reaction to that. Let's get around the grounds. Hibs in action and really, really struggling at Rory Loy at Celtic Park.
Yeah, massively. As Celtic come again and maybe get a corner out of that, it's cleared. They're struggling massively. They actually look, as I've said, okay going forward at times, but it's a siege on their goal when Celtic come forward. They look like they're going to score with every attack. Down the sides, Haksabanovic has been outstanding. James Forrest, of course, with 2 goals. David Marshall should do better with the third one. It's a blatant error. and they just look so good going forward. Although Ange Postecoglou, the pace slowed, it dipped for all of about a minute, and he was straight to the edge of his technical dugout shouting at Hatate to move the ball quickly so we don't stop us in full flow.
Rory, what would you say the tactics of Hibs have been? I know they're miles off it, but have they dropped off the game? Are they looking to sit in? Is there a high press that's getting beaten early on? It's difficult to see just when I'm across the four screens just now, but as you say, it just looks like constant waves of attack.
Yeah, I mean, they've set up 4-1-4-1. I think Kenna is meant to be the protection in front of the back four, and I think Lee Johnson doesn't want to come here, or the thought process was, I don't want to come here and take part, I want to try and affect the top end of the pitch. Possibly being a bit inexperienced coming to these types of places, Ibrox Parkhead, he's been sliced open, and they've been far too open. Leanne is the answer. Maybe better with two. It's easy to say after the event, of course, and we always criticise managers for coming and camping in. He's not done that, but his team have paid the full price for it, because they've tried to get men in support of Kucheravic, the striker, Boyle and things, but it's left massive gaps down the side.
How's the ball boys and ball girls doing?
They've returned to their training camp. It's job done after half an hour, Jim.
I thought that was quite an interesting thing, because when Celtic lost at St Mirren Park, St Mirren did the very opposite. The ball boys were super good to the ball when it went out, and they stopped the play. So you use your home advantage, and I think that's why going to play Celtic.
When they were 2-0 up, Chick.
But right at the start of the game, they did. St Mirren slowed things down. And I mean, I think that's what you do. You use what you can do when you're playing at home, and that's why I think Celtic at Parkhead are a much more difficult proposition than when you get them away to your own place.
Just a word of tribute to Forrest. That's 14 seasons in a row he scored for Celtic. And he's 31. Obviously, younger players out wide now. He's an impact player, but he's still invaluable to the club. And just to go back to his debut, which he scored off the bench, he scored on his debut back in May 2010. The Celtic team: Boric, Hinkel, Rasmussen, Breifhed, Thompson, O'Dea, Brown, Zengji, McGeady, Samaras and Fortune. That's how long James Forrest has been doing it.
And Ange Postecoglou said recently, still a hugely important player for Celtic Football Club.
I think he's impact. We can see he's still got quality, at this level. Still has it. But I'd say his influence around the club as a guy who's been there that long, and to tell all these new Celtic players coming through, this is what's expected here. As a standard setter, I think it's invaluable.
You're absolutely right, Tom, and I think this is the type of performance that Ange Postecoglou expected in Paisley a few weeks ago, when he gave an opportunity to the players that have been on the periphery, your Ralstons, your Moyes, etc. This is the type of performance to go and claim a stake for the jersey, and they've certainly done that so far.
Montrose have gone 1-0 up at home to Falkirk. Adam McKinnon in the 29th minute. Let's then get to Paisley. St Mirren against Kilmarnock. Goalless there, Jim, but who's at the better of the exchanges?
Yeah, I still think Kilmarnock have been the better side, without really testing Trevor Carson too much, but they've had a couple of moments in and around the gate, the penalty box. St Mirren have had one chance from a corner. I think it was Mark O'Hara. It was a crowded area, and a little flick header almost creeped into the far post, but other than that, as I said, there's not been too much goalmouth action here.
And what's been happening? Livingston against St Johnstone, Alan Preston.
St Johnstone have been the better side. Stevie May, a couple of chances he's had, one through the goalkeeper. He should have done better. We had a shot after about 30 seconds in the game across the goalkeeper as well, and then we've had James Brown smash him on off the underside of the bar. Livingston have come into it a little bit. Bambua had a header that was easily saved by the St Johnstone goalkeeper, but St Johnstone have been the better side, and it's still 0-0.
So I'll go through the scores for you with just over half an hour played. Celtic 3, Hibs 0, Livingston 0, St Johnstone 0, Ross County 0, Dundee United 0 and St Mirren 0, Kilmarnock 0. Into the Championship, Cove Rangers 0, Inverness Cally Thistle 1, Dundee 0, Ayr United 0, Hamilton Accies 0, Partick Thistle 0 and Morton 0, Wraith 0. A late start there, just 17 minutes played at Capello. Into League 1, Alloa 0, Airdrie 0, Dunfermline 0, SC Edinburgh 0, Kelty Hearts 0, Clyde 0, Montrose 1, Falkirk 0 and Queen of the South 1, Peterhead 0. And in League 2, Annan 1, Stranraer 0, Bonnyrigg Rose 1, East Fife 0, Dumbarton 1, Albion Rovers 1, Elgin City 0, Forper 1 and Stenhousemuir 0, Stirling Albion 1. In the English Premier League, it finished at lunchtime. Leicester City 0, Crystal Palace 0. It's now Fulham 1, Bournemouth 2 and it's Wolves 0, Nottingham Forest 0. The tea time kick-off is Spurs against Everton. Tomorrow in sports, Motherwell against Rangers, followed by Aberdeen against Hearts. That's going to be an interesting one. Tom, we were in the studio last, the late kick-off, the experiment they did last Saturday evening, 6 o'clock kick-off at Tannadice. Aberdeen absolutely thumped through there, desperately in need of bouncing back. There was a humiliating performance, I think we'd all agree on that one.
Oh, they've got the goal!
Yep.
Sorry, Ken, it's for Thistle. It was just a ball into the box, in the back post, a free kick, left-hand side, over to the back post there, nodded back across, and there's Brian Graham, not with the head this time, on the volley, 7 yards out, making no mistake. So probably against a run of play, Thistle go 1-0 up.
So the league leaders ahead there, going on form. Yeah, a big game for both sides actually, Pittodrie tomorrow, Tom.
It is, absolutely, and you know, given what happened to them last week, Aberdeen, I think with Jim Goodwin back in the dugout after the appeal was lodged, they have a point to prove. Big point. They're absolutely humiliated last week. Hearts, they've had a tough week. Everyone expected to have a tough week. The support in Florence was unbelievable. Unbelievable. But a big game for them. But Aberdeen, home advantage on the back of a drubbing. Jim Goodwin getting a lot of criticism for not fronting up after it. I know
and he should have done.
Should have done. He had the opportunity to do it and decided not to do it. The club decided he wouldn't do it. Left his assistant to take the heat, of which there's been plenty, both media and from Aberdeen fans. The Aberdeen fans is more pertinent in this case because they were very, very angry. 4,000 of them went to the match, went back up the road, feeling pretty angry, I'm sure. So that's a big one for both clubs.
Yeah, I was trying to check that out when we were on air last week. I couldn't get an answer. I spoke to a lot of people. The answer that I did get is that 15 minutes after the final whistle, he can come down to the technical area, and nothing at all stopping the manager from doing an interview after that game. Also tomorrow, the early kick-off, Motherwell against Rangers. Leanne, very interesting to see how Rangers bounce back from that midweek European performance.
Yeah, of course it will be, in a tough place to go for Park, the early kick-off as well. I'm sure Stevie Hamill will have his side ready to go. They'll be apprehensive because I think off the back of a result like that, you're expecting Rangers to bounce back, you're expecting them to come at you. But having said that, the injuries and the players that will now be missing, I think Goulton is one, Ryan Jack certainly another. So Giovanni Van Bronckhorst will need to freshen his side up. You know, will Morelos come in perhaps and lead the line? Will there be a change? But Rangers have got to continue winning domestic matches. That's where the pressure is at now. I think Champions League we can debate in terms of the golf, what it looks like, how results are, what performances have looked like, but domestic football right now is our bread and butter. And when Celtic are in this vein of form like they are today, ruthless.
And it's gone to Livingston and it's a deflected effort. It's smashed into by Boer, and I don't know who's deflected off. It might have been Mitchell. Keeper goes one way, ball just wrong foot, and goes the other. Livingston won against the run of play, St Johnstone now.
Just waiting for a replay, Alan, but as you say, against the run of play, very typical. And a disappointment, you would need to say, for St Johnstone, having started the game better. Is it Moyle that hits the strike, did you say? We'll get a look at it now, Alan, see if we can see the deflection that you're talking about.
Definitely, and I'm looking
good
right
hold-up
at
play,
it.
is it? Nubly with the hold-up play. It's unfortunate, isn't it?
Really?
Yeah. It would have been a shot on target, but I certainly don't think it would have been enough to beat the goalkeeper. Completely wrong foots him. I think it might actually.
St Johnstone won a penalty here for the Oberleis challenge on May. Not for me, but Stevie May is incensed. Absolutely incensed. Just a ball over the top. He goes down in the box. Not for me, but he's not happy at all. He's having a go at the referee.
Yeah, just a bit behind. Just waiting for a replay of that one coming through. See if it was indeed a decent shout for a penalty. Not seen that again, Leanne, are we?
No, we're not. It will come through though. It will eventually see it.
Leanne, while you're on, how disappointing and bad a result was that for the Scottish women? We were having a bad week in football.
That's huge.
Horrendous result.
Hugely disappointing. Yeah, and I think performance-wise as well, we've spoken about the manner in which you lose games. For me, I just thought Ireland came with a game plan that wasn't a surprise. I think we always knew how they would play, very defensively deep, robust, organised.
Oh my word!
What a goal! Paul McMullen for Dundee has just struck one from about 30 yards into the top right-hand corner of the Ayr United net. He collected the ball round about the midfield. It was a bit of a slack pass from, I think it was the right-back Jordan Houston. McMullen picked the ball up in the middle of the park, strode forward and unleashed an unstoppable shot into the top right-hand corner, and Dundee take the lead.
Yeah, an important goal for the home side there. I mean, what's your assessment of the Scotland manager? Do you think he's doing a good job?
I think there's huge question marks over his performance the other night, if I'm being honest. I know the players will take responsibility. They're accountable for their part in it. I don't think player for player we turned up. I don't think our best players performed at the level we need them to perform. But what I thought watching the game, and my comparison would be Steve Clark. If Steve Clark made some of the tactical changes that Pedro Martinez Losa did, i.e. two defenders off, two defenders.
Ross County have gone 1-0 up, and it's Ross Callaghan. They cut down the left-hand side, and
what a finish.
I think it's Ben Purrington that eventually cuts it back to him. He opens his foot up, and I'm not 100% sure he gets it as cleanly as he wants to, but he eventually guides it up into the top corner. And Carl Johan Eriksson has no chance in saving it. And you'll be able to tell me, was there a defender trying to get back on the line as well? It looks as if it went over one of the defenders' heads as well. But yeah, a neat finish in the end. But I thought he was going to try and put a bit more power into it, and he almost just placed it and scooped it into the top corner. Big moment for Ross County.
Just opens up the boot, Michael, just guides it, because he's ahead of the ball. He has to take a step back just to adjust. Just opens up with the right boot, caresses it into the top corner.
Awful defending. Awful defending.
Yeah, they should have.
Yeah, there is a player trying to drop onto the line, but no chance of getting there. Far too much height in the ball, too much lift.
I didn't see who it was that was defending it against Purrington, but he should have been seeing that out. There's no way he can allow the Ross County player to sneak the ball away from him, and they're back again. Jordan White's in the box. Yeah, Ross County taking obviously a big lift from that goal there, because 5 minutes before, Dundee United were the ones that had sort of got into the final third on a few occasions and put balls across the box. But a massive goal for Ross Callaghan and Ross County.
Yeah, he's got a few decent goals actually. A good strike there on Ross Callaghan.
That's the weirdest thing, Kenny, but here Raith Rovers have got a 6'8" centre forward, and they get a throw in, and he goes and takes the throw in.
He's going to throw up high in the air and run in and head it.
That happened last week as well. Chick and asked Ian Murray about it, and he said he's going to persist with that until he gets one of them stuck on. But the thing I noticed about Big Fredrickson is, although he's 6'8", he hasn't got the. We were comparing him last week to Haaland, but he's really, really thin, so he's not. That's probably what cost him his move to Man City.
Aye, exactly.
Haaland's granny.
I think a chance for St Johnstone. That's Stevie May, double hits it. It's a free kick 23 yards out. He goes to hit it. He's actually, it's a free kick because he's double hit it. It's a free kick now to Livingston. He slips as he hits it, and it hits one foot onto the other.
It's like, I think Tony Higgins' great phrase about playing a big player he's playing with, a lighthouse in the desert. Occasionally brilliant, but I'm not used to anybody.
Stennismuir have equalised at home to Stirling Albion. Nathaniel Wedderburn on 39 minutes. And just in terms of the Scottish women's national side, question marks over the manager. You weren't happy with the tactics. The team selection, also question marks over that for you. Are we happy with that?
Team selection was okay, but I just felt at the latter stages of the game, if you've got Erin Cuthbert sitting wasted in a number 6 position when you're needing goals and you're needing a moment of creativity, I'd have liked to have seen her higher up the pitch. As I say, you take 2 defenders off, you put 2 defenders on when you're 1-0 down. It doesn't make sense to me. You've got probably your best informed striker sitting on the bench. You don't bring her on until 72 minutes when you're 1-0 behind. To then go and change to a back 3, I thought was a strange decision, because they were a 4v1 in terms of defenders against a one island striker the whole night. You should have naturally had that overload anyway, so there was many question marks for me over that. I now start to wonder, Kenny, when will the next time that we can qualify for a major tournament? Because off the back of this, the next tournament is 2025. You're going to lose a considerable amount of players between now and then, because that's international football that comes in cycles, it comes in waves. It's just really disappointing.
Well, Leanne, you're saying it as well. If Steve Clark made the same mistakes,
he wouldn't have been in a job.
Ridiculed by the press.
Alan, I think he would have been out of a job the next day. In all seriousness, I don't think you could have made those types of decisions and not come under fierce criticism.
That's serious. Yeah? I mean, I haven't seen the game. I was at the Champions League. Yeah. You're talking. Obviously, it's a massive missed opportunity.
Think how critical, Tom, we've been sitting at games watching Steve Clarke, even against Ukraine. He's probably his worst critic that night.
Very strong that night,
yeah, and that's because I'm passionate. You know, but I just felt there was a real lack of urgency from the touchline, and I think if that's your lack of urgency there, and it's not happening on the pitch, you need to make changes. And I just felt we were very, very reactive. Like Ireland they deserved to be there. They were the better team on the night. Are they a better team than Scotland I don't think so. So for me, that alarm bells are ringing. And I do fear for the next time that we will be able to qualify for a major tournament, because I don't see enough coming through the system just now at youth level. I think there's a real gulf between under-19s and A squad. How do you bridge that gap? How do you ready players to step up to that level? How do you go and replace the likes of perhaps a Rachel Corsie, a Jenny Beattie, players that have been there for years? For me it's just so disappointing. I feel for the players because I know how disappointed they will feel, because they've played their part in it as well, and at times you can only control the controllables.
And you're right, just when they got a TV deal and all the rest of it, it just harms the progression of the whole sport for ladies at that level. It really does. It's a shame.
Yeah, it's certainly a sore one at Hampden Park. Falkirk have equalised away to Montrose. Craig McGuffey there in the 43rd minute. So just approaching half-time. Let's get back to Rory Loy at Celtic Park. I mean, what are Hibs doing now? What should the tactics be now? Is it just damage limitation, Rory?
Yeah, I mean, Leanne touched on it when it went 3-0. You know, what do you do? You know, what was their shape been like? Well, they've now changed to a 4-2-3-1. They've got a little bit more protection in there. You know, I suggested maybe they should have started like that again. You know, I'm reluctant to criticise too much. I know how difficult it is, and Lee Johnson wanted to be positive, but Newell's dropped back in there next to Kenna now. McCurdy's went to the number 10 position with Boyle moving out wide. So you know, they've got a little bit more protection. They've looked more solid since. Hatati's making some really good runs. He's not been picked out when he should have done a few times, in my opinion. But Celtic are well in control of this game now. I did wonder with Kucheragic coming into the team. You know, Cameron Carter-Vickers is such a good player, but you know, he's not the biggest centre half. I thought, you know, Kucheragic's a big lad. I thought, can he cause him trouble? He's been absolutely dominated by Cameron Carter-Vickers. Hibs cannot get up the pitch. I felt like Boyle's pace may have helped with that, but it certainly hasn't so far, and Celtic are in cruise control.
Will Derek McInnes be happy? Jim Duffy, who he's seen so far in the first half?
Yeah, I'll be happy to a point because his team have been the better team in the first half, but you know, we've said that many times in the programme, you've got to capitalise when you're in control, just as 2 minutes injury time goes up. But as I speak, St Mirren are on the attack, Kenny, and you know, it's very few times I've been up the pitch, but you know, Commander definitely better in the first half, but as I said, neither team have looked really clinical anywhere near the goal.
Half time at Dingwall, 1-0 to Ross County.
Thank you, Michael. Livingston with the advantage to Almond Vale.
Yep, sorry, chance. I thought it was a goal there. It was a long diagonal ball played down from Tanzer, and Curtis Main go over the top. I think it was Stokes, and he's headed. I thought it was getting to the back stick, but I think it was an inch wide. But obviously, Leanne will be able to see that, how close it was.
There's a big shout for a penalty as well at Celtic Park. Giacomakis is played in by Moy, who's grown into the game, and Giacomakis thinks he was tugged back. The home fans are booing. Maybe one for you to look at again, Leanne, once you've looked at Jim's one.
Yeah, he just gets back up, does he?
Giacomakis?
Yeah.
Oh! That is half time. It's Celtic 3, Hibs 0. Giacomakis does get back up, but it looked like he was pulled back from where I'm sitting.
Yeah, I'll get a look at it again. I thought he maybe partially slipped as well, and Jim Main's got to do better.
Yeah,
I know he's stretching and he's coming over the top, but he's probably done the hard bit.
Was it Porteous grabbing the arm of Giacomakis there? It was just a quick glimpse I got at it.
Wraith Rovers have hit the crossbar here and get moved. A lot of pressure from Rovers on Morton the last spell, and Dylan Easton, who came on very early, 9 minutes, remember, for Jamie Gullen. Just a curling shot, looked to me as if it was going to drop in the postage stamp corner, but it just hit the crossbar and went over. Still 0-0, Kenny.
Livingston fortunate.
Yeah, half-time, Kenny. Hamilton Accies 0, Partick Thistle 1.
Thanks, Derek. Livingston fortunate to be ahead there at Almond Vale. Alan Preston.
Well, they've certainly dominated since they've scored, Kenny. They've had a couple of other chances just as a half-time whistle goes here at the Tony Macaroni. Devlin had a shot, then Montano also. It's been a good game. St Johnstone will be kicking themselves. They didn't score early on, but they find themselves trailing at half-time 1-0.
Half-time at Dens Park, Kenny, and it's Dundee 1, Ayr United 0.
Half-time at Paisley, Kenny. Still 0-0.
Right, so all the half-time scores coming in now across Scotland. Chick behind. What, you still got another 50 minutes?
Yeah.
50 minutes to play there down at Capello. So we'll get round all the grounds apart from that game from Chet. We'll get an update from him. We'll get all the half-time scores coming up right now for you on Sports Sound on BBC Radio Scotland.
On digital radio,
FM,
online at BBC Sports Scotland,
your smart speaker,
and BBC Sounds.
This is Sports Sound from BBC Radio Scotland,
where Scottish football lives.
So let's kick off our half-time roundup from our commentary match at Celtic Park. Rory Loy and Open All Mics talking about a very dominant performance on the home side. Liam McLeod.
Yeah, Celtic are unbeaten in the last 14 against Hibs, who haven't won here since 2010, so it's no surprise that the champions have the advantage at the break, but it's a big advantage. 3-0 it is to them, and they've been excellent. They've been struggling to click in the final third by and large in league games by their very high standards, of course, because they still have been scoring goals. Didn't take their chances against Leipzig on Tuesday evening, but boy have they taken their chances today. James Forrest, who's looking to reclaim that starting jersey on a regular basis, scoring inside 9 minutes as he prodded home. Wonderful cross from Aksabanovic on the left. He rammed it home from the right-hand side of the 6-yard box into the bottom left to give Celtic the lead. After Hibs had actually started not bad, they started with confidence. 4 straight wins before the defeat at Tannadice on Tuesday, and they felt aggrieved to not have gone away with a victory on Tayside the other night, but they won't be getting anything of the sort today either, because it was just 9 minutes later 2-0 this time. Giakoumakis, this time the set-up man was Bernabei on the left-hand side of the box, and it was an easy chance for the Greek, who just smashed it past Marshall low in the centre of his goal to make it 2-0. Already a long way back for Hibs at that point, but it was 3-0 on 24 minutes. This time the ball dropped to Forrest on the edge of the box. First time he hit it for goal. David Marshall, butterfingers from the former Scotland international, couldn't hold it. It went behind him through his fingers, and by the time he clawed it away, it had already crossed the line. The linesman on this near side was content with that decision, and it was 3-0. Celtic felt annoyed at the end of the first half there, where they felt Giakoumakis was fouled in the area, no penalty, and of course this time next week we'll be going through a penalty check, so we might not have been finished on time as we have been this afternoon. Hibs are finished in the game, John. There's no coming back from this. Celtic have been much more like themselves in the league here today.
Celtic, I think, from kick-off they've looked sharp. Every player's wanted the ball, and of course once you get that early goal, all of a sudden I think everybody, the man in possession, seems to have 4 or 5 choices in front of them. Every Celtic player's looking for a goal. The delivery into the box has been outstanding. They've scored 3, they could easily have scored 5 or 6. It's going to be a tough second 45 minutes from Hibs' point of view. I don't know what the manager will do. I don't think he'll make any personnel changes. He could bring on Johan for a bit more pace and legs in the wider areas. We've seen nothing of Boyle. He's had no service at all. Disappointing from Hibs' point of view. From Celtic, very good. A lot of good performances.
Half time, Celtic 3, Hibernian 0.
Yeah, the home side very much on top there. Let's then get to St Mirren against Kilmarnock, and half-time report from Jim Duffy.
Yeah, 0-0 here at St Mirren, Kenny. Both teams, have played some decent football in between the penalty boxes, but the crucial area is what you do inside there. And neither team have really had that creativity, that little bit of spark and imagination to cut off in very strong defences. Both teams are playing 3 big, strong central defenders, and I think it's been very difficult to see any space. But Kilmarnock have been the better side in terms of being on the ascendancy more often. One real good chance, I think, from Ash Taylor headed over the bar. Again, as I said to you, a lot of cross into the box, but defended very well St Mirren. And St Mirren, although they haven't been the team that looked most likely, they have had 2 really good chances to score, one from a corner. I think it was a Harris with a crowded penalty box, who's got a lot of flick header by the post, and then right just before half time, Curtis Main on the end of a diagonal from Tanza got above the defender, headed towards the far post, but it just went inches past, probably should have scored. So I think Stevie Robinson will be quite pleased it's 0-0, and Derek McInnes will obviously be looking for a little bit more in that final third. They do have options, both teams, to make changes. It'll be interesting to see, but I would have thought that Derek might make the earlier change because his team are the team that looks most likely, but still here at Paisley, 0-0 half time.
Thank you, Jim. Let's then get to Ammon Vale. Livingston against St Johnstone. Alan Preston, the home side with their noses in front.
Yeah, Livingston won, St Johnstone 0 at half time. St Johnstone really started, came right out of the blocks, and within 30 seconds Stevie May had the left foot shot just wide of the target. Then then May again had a chance. Devlin was shot with a header. May's on to it. He should have scored, but give all credit to the keeper. George spread himself and managed to save it. Then a couple of minutes later, James Brown for St Johnstone smashed one off the underside of the bar and away. Wasn't all St Johnstone. Livingston started to creep into it. Montana had a cross. Newby just couldn't get on the end of it. Then Pittman had a shot over. But the 35th minute was a goal. Good play by Newby. Knocks it back to Bambula, and his effort was deflected. I think it was off Mitchell, certainly one of the centre halves, giving the keeper Remy Matthews absolutely no chance. Then Devlin had a shot, and had a shot as well, as Livingston started to dominate just before half-time. Half-time score, Livingston 1, St Johnstone 0.
Thank you to Alan Preston, to Michael Stewart now in Dingle again. The home side in charge there, Michael.
Yeah, Ross County are 1-0 up at half-time. A wonderful strike from Ross Callaghan, and it's been the only real moment of note in the first half. It's a game that's huffed and puffed for both sides, really. Dundee United were the ones that probably were able to get into the opposition's box a little bit more often, but as I said, that was the one big moment of note, with Ben Purrington being able to get to the byline. Poor defending from Dundee United, not seeing the ball out or clearing the lines. Purrington cutting it back to the edge of the box. Ross Callaghan with his right foot just opening up and guiding it into the far top corner, where Karl Johan Eriksson had absolutely no chance with saving it. And as it stands at half time, it's 1-0 to the home side, Ross County.
OK, into the Championship then. Cove Rangers against Inverness Cally Thistle, watched by Kenny Crawford.
Half-time score, Cove Rangers 0, Inverness Cally Thistle 1. 25-year-old forward Stephen Boyd's had 7 clubs over the 7 years of his senior career so far, so maybe hasn't quite laid down roots yet, but what will help him settle at Cally Thistle is his first goal for the club, which he scored after 19 minutes here at the Balmoral Stadium. A really nice passage of play. Boyd playing a 1-2 with the evergreen Billy Mackay and tapping in from 4 yards. Not much else to report apart from a Mitch Megginson header, which was disallowed for offside, so half-time score, Cove Rangers 0, Inverness Cally Thistle 1.
To Hamilton Accies against Partick Thistle, watched by Derek Ferguson.
Yeah, it's Accies 0, Partick Thistle 1 at the moment. Struggling Accies, well, they started the better side, Kenny, and they showed a good appetite for the game, and could have took the lead on 14 minutes. It was in Gandu, straight through a static Thistle defence, but Snedden in goal, producing a good save. Andy Ryan then went close with a lob from 18 yards out, just going over the bar with the keeper stranded. But Thistle at the top of the table for a reason, and they got themselves into the lead. That lead came on, I'm just having a look, that was 33 minutes, and it was a free kick from the left hand side, floated away to the back post area, nodded back from Muirhead into the path of the prolific Brian Graham to thump home with a volley from close range. Accies kept plugging away, went close again. Winters with a powerful run and shot at the angle, bringing out a decent save from Snedden in goals. That was going towards the break. That's how we stand at the moment. Hamilton Accies 0, Partick Thistle 1.
Thank you to Derek Ferguson. Let's then hear from Craig Easton. He's at Dens Park, where Dundee are up against Ayr United.
Well, Dundee probably had the better of the opening exchanges. Zach Rudden had a half chance, a cheeky back heel deflecting a shot wide from just inside the 6-yard box, and then Cillian Murphy watched his header look just over the bar. For Ayr United, Akinyemi drilled a low shot from the edge of the box. He's looked in danger, but he's not made the box on enough occasions, and the Dundee defence has dealt with him quite comfortably today. Dundee fullback Jordan Marsh with a fierce effort from the angle fly just over the bar in 17 minutes, but then the game dipped into a lull, both sides failing to find any real quality in the final third until Paul McMillan latched onto a slack touch from Jordan Houston in the centre of the park. The Dundee winger strode forward and unleashed an absolutely unstoppable strike from 30 yards, which flew into the top right hand corner of Ayr United goal, and the score is 1-0 Dundee United at half time. Dundee against Ayr United at half time.
The Scottish League Cup.
The action continues Tuesday from 7 with Kilmarnock versus Dundee United. And from 5:30 on Wednesday, we'll bring you Motherwell versus Celtic.
Aberdeen versus Partick Thistle.
And Rangers play Dundee.
Big chance, wonderful goal!
Take nothing away from that finish, is incredible.
certainly being played like a cup competition around the stands, the supporters shouting for everything.
The Scottish League Cup quarter-finals. Listen on your digital radio.
And it's watch at home.
Or play BBC Radio Scotland Extra on your smart speaker.
Yes, full coverage of the League Cup on Tuesday and Wednesday on Sports Sound. Just to go through the half-time scores then, in the Premiership, Celtic 3, Hibs 0, Livingston 1, St Johnstone 0, Ross County 1, Dundee United 0 and St Mirren 0, Kilmarnock 0, Cove Rangers 0, Inverness Cally Thistle 1, Dundee 1, Ayr United 0, Hamilton Accies 0, Partick Thistle 1. We'll get to Chick just in a minute. A delayed kick-off there at Morton. In League 1, Alloa 0, Airdrie 0, Dunfermline 0, FC Edinburgh 0, Kelty Hearts 0, Clyde 0, Montrose 1, Falkirk 1 and Queen of the South 1. Peterhead 0. In League 1, Annan 1, Stranraer 0, Bonnyrigg Rose 1, East Fife 0, Dumbarton 1, Albion Rovers 1, Elgin City 0, Forfar 1. Forfar down to 10 men there, and Stenhousemuir 1, Stirling Albion 1. And in England, the lunchtime kick-off, Leicester City 0, Crystal Palace 0, Fulham 1, Bournemouth 2 at half-time, and Wolves 0, Nottingham Forest 0. The tea-time kick-off is Spurs against Everton. Let's then get back to Chick at Capello. How are things looking there, just approaching half-time, Chick?
Yeah, it's we've played 43 and a half minutes of the first half now, Kenny. It's still 0-0, but I tell you, there'll be a lot of time added on due to an early injury to Jamie Gowan. Only 9 minutes the clock. He went down, no one near him. Eventually had to be replaced by Dylan Easton, but the game was held up for a fair old time, so there'll be added time at this first half, which was delayed because of a problem for the Wraith Rovers bus coming through from the East Coast. It was there was an accident. The bus wasn't involved in that, but it held up the traffic, and that's why they didn't get here. 3 of the players who were selected for the starting 11 of this game were on that team bus, so they had to hold proceedings up. They got underway at 3:15, and as I said, we're now just nosing towards half time. A bit of time added on. There's been a chance. Here's another chance for Morton. The last little period of pressure's all come from the Greenock side. They've got a chance inside the box. Wraith Rovers can't get this clear ball. Overhead kick just past the post, and that was the latest chance with a McGrattan drive. A great effort just over the crossbar a moment ago. 2 penalty claims as well that Morton felt should have been valid. They should have got penalty kicks. They never came to pass. All of that drama being delayed, but going into time added on, it is Morton 0, Wraith Rovers 0.
Thanks to Chick. Just waiting on the sides, coming out for the second half. Tom English, Celtic. What a convincing scoreline they have at half time there. You really feel that Hibs could be on the end of a really sore one this afternoon.
Yeah, if Celtic keep going, it looks like total dominance. Hibs really disappointed. For all that Celtic have been very clinical. We haven't said that much about them, but you know, when they hit their stride, they are very clinical in domestic competition. Hibs have been a desperate disappointment, and they're lucky it's only 3. To be honest, it could be more. It could be more than that. They haven't turned up really, and if Celtic keep that intensity, there's plenty more in it for them. You know, the goal difference now is plus 27. Pretty impressive.
So time now then for the action to get underway in the second half. A choice of listening again. You can hear full commentary of Celtic against Hibs on digital, online at BBC Sport Scotland, BBC Radio Scotland Extra on your smart speaker, and on BBC Sounds. If it's open all mics you want, that will be on BBC Sounds, FM and online.
Football from Sports Sound.
Brilliant drop of the shoulder.
From BBC Radio Scotland.
There's no substitute.
Yes, the second half's just getting underway, Tom, and just looking again, it's only half time, but again, what a job Davy Martindale's doing at Livingston. If things stay as they are, up to 5th in the table.
Yeah, fifth at the moment. Excellent. You know, we keep saying it. He keeps, every time they might have a little blip, they bounce back quite quickly. So they're having a good day so far. Stevie May will be kicking himself. All our fault actually for having him on the programme, as you said earlier. The curse strikes again. So far so good for Martindale's Livy. And also for Malcolm Mackay's Ross County. Started the day bottom of the league. They're now up to 9th.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible.
Things will change. Things will change in the second half, but it just shows you how tight this league is. You know, bottom of the league to ninth in the space of one goal.
I had a laugh last night, Tom, just looking at social media, and there's a video up just where there's a quick clip of every top flight manager and the reaction to the introduction of VAR, and everyone's talking about it from a football perspective. Davy Martindale was talking about, the rigging off and the wiring and stuff, and someone saying that probably comes under his remit.
Yeah, but they've done a lot of good work there at Livy, getting set up.
Kenny, that's half time at Capello. It's Morton 0, Wraith Rovers 0.
Thanks, Jack.
And knowing a bit about Davy Martindale, he probably rigged it up himself. I can see him up in ladders and scaffolding.
A chance. Oh, what a chance for Kyle Lafferty. Should have scored in the opening seconds. Was kick-off for St Mirren. They played it back. Lafferty blocked it and ran right through it, 1-on-1 with Carson. To me, he should do another stride and rolled into the corner, but he just kind of put his head down and hit it, and Carson sticks a boot out and clears it away. But that was an unbelievable opportunity for Kyle Lafferty to put Kilmarnock 1-0 up, and they may well rue that chance.
It's a chance you would expect Lafferty to take, Jim, isn't it?
He doesn't pick a side for me, Leanne. He just gets his head down and then just kind of literally just hits it. And for me, a wee bit of composure, slow yourself down in that moment and just pick a side, roll into a corner. But a decent save by the keeper, but what a chance that is.
You're right, he's actually got so much more time and space than he even thinks. He does so well. He goes on the press, he gets the ricochet off the long ball. He's just coming towards the edge of the box. He actually could have took another 5 yards at least to take him inside the box, which then makes it a much more difficult save for the keeper, but he just got his shot away far too early.
Sorry, Kenny, we're just underway here at Dens Park, and there's been a double substitution at half time for the Dark Blues. Gary Boer's made a pretty bold decision. He's taken off both his strikers. He's taken off Zach Rudden and Cillian Sheridan and replaced them with Josh Mulligan and Zach Robinson. To be fair, Rudden and Sheridan didn't have much joy in the first half, but it certainly shows that he's looking for a more attacking impetus from his side. Paul McMullen with that wonder goal. Apart from that, there was very little really to talk about.
Any half-time changes, Rory, at Celtic Park?
Yes, 5 in total, Kenny. 1 for Celtic and 4 for Hibs. The Hibs kit man trotted out. When you're 3-0 down and you're warming up at half-time as a sub, you're constantly looking in that tunnel to see if you're getting brought on. He trotted out and he called in Marianne Cabrera, Kyle McGuinness, Ellie Yuhan and Rocky Bashiri. Off go Chris Cadden, Lewis Stevenson, Harry McCurdy and Mikola Kucheragic. So they'll now line up with a 3-5-2 in this half. It looks like they went with 3 centre-backs, your wing-backs, and then your... I don't even know if they'll play 2 up top, to be honest. They'll probably sit with 1 slightly deeper. For Celtic, I'm slightly disappointed from my point of view that Haksabanovic has went off, because I've really enjoyed watching him. That's no offence to Dyson Maeda, who's replaced him, but I would imagine, if he's injury free, that's with a view to keeping Haksabanovic free or fully fit for Motherwell during the week. But 5 subs in total, 4 for Hibs, 1 for Celtic.
Ball boys, world class, Rory. Have you got a ball boy of the match so far?
Well, I think given that it's 3, they might return to their MI5 base 10 minutes before full time there, Tom.
There's always a story. There's always a story, isn't there, in Scottish football. Guys, as I said,
it's a goal.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's a goal at Dens Park, and it's the substitute. It's just on the field. It's Zach Robinson. It was a great move from Dundee. There was a bit of a counter-attack on the left-hand side. I think it was Lloyd McGowan. It was a great run from him. He beat his man. He got to near the byline, cut the ball back. It was a shot from Jordan McGee. The midfielder shot was well saved, but following up was Zach Robinson to smash into an empty net. 2-0 Dundee against Ayr United.
Yeah, a bit of a slow start, I think it's fair to say, for Dundee to the season, but they're in the top 4, and I'm sure that they'll be quite happy. Just 3 points today, 2 goals up so far, and keeps them absolutely in the mix. Partick Thistle leading the way there with Inverness, Cali Thistle. As things stand, the live table, they are both on 20 points. Ayr United on 17. Dundee, who have played a game more, on 17. Also Queen's Park, they drew last night 1-1 at home to Arbroath. They're on 17 points. Arbroath bottom of the table right now, level on points with Hamilton Accies. What a turnaround from last season, Alan Preston. It was always going to be almost an impossible job for Dick Campbell to repeat the heroics of last term.
Yeah, it is. They're a part-time team in a full-time league almost now. Very, very difficult for them. Players were getting older. Some of the players have left, have gone away to other other places, other clubs. You know, but I'm sure Dick will again want to try and keep his side in the league, and if they can, it'll be a wonderful achievement. They are the best part-time team in Scotland. He tells you every time you speak to him, and that has been for a number of years as well. They've been excellent. So no disgrace at the bottom of the league in the Championship. It really isn't, but he'll want a lot better from them.
Interesting, Alan, to see Bobby Lynn playing such a huge part as well, because he missed out a lot last season. He was in the bench for a huge portion of the season, but he's a guy that's coming up with the goals for them just now.
And a cracker last week, what a goal it was.
Unbelievable, yeah.
Leanne, you cover a lot of the Championship, obviously, on the BBC Scotland channel. Early days so far, just 10, 11 games played in some cases. Partick Thistle, joint top of the table with Inverness, Cally Thistle as things stand. Would you expect these two to be right up there at the end? Or anyone else you'd expect to join them?
Well, I would expect Dundee to rally at some point. I know there's fine margins in the Championship. At times you can be down in 5th and 6th, and there's maybe only 3-4 points between the sides, so it can all change very quickly. I think even from that midpoint of the table to the bottom, it can all change very quickly. But no, I would expect Partick Thistle, I think, have been impressive. Inverness, Cally Thistle came out in top right enough when our last live Championship match. Queens are going really well, so they
that's
might
what I'm looking forward to seeing, Leanne.
Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to seeing Queens. It's a brilliant story that they've got going at the moment. It
Do
really
you think,
is.
Alan, they've got enough to maintain it over the season?
I think if they've got a little sniff at Christmas time, Leanne, I think that they'll invest again. I really do.
Yeah. No, I can see that happening as well. We haven't seen them in one of the live matches yet. I'm looking forward to that when we eventually get to it as well. But as I say, the Championship's always so tight.
Yep. Anthony Watt. Anthony's Sunday name's just stuck it past the post there. It got chested down to him from Glenn Middleton on his left foot. He should be doing better, I think. He's only probably about 10-12 yards out. With his left foot, he's put it past the post. Dundee United have started the second half brightly. They made 2 subs at half time. A famous familiar face for the Hearts fans, Arno Zoom, who just signed for Dundee United, has come on the second half for Sibbald, and Archie Meekison's come on as well, and Jamie McGrath's gone off, and they've started the second half brightly, Dundee United, and that was an opportunity to get level, but Tony Watt passed it up.
Is he looking for a penalty, Michael?
I think he falls down hopeful, but there's no chance in happening.
It's a leveller for Accies. Kenny, then catch Andy Ryan get the last touch. It's just a free kick into the box, and that Thistle defence, they've been so assured at times this afternoon. They're all over the place, but Andy Ryan just getting on to it and just smashing it high into the roof of the net, so Accies level.
Yeah, just almost again, Kilmarnock getting in front here down at Paisley. Daniel Armstrong this time just dropped his shoulder, came into his left foot, tried to bend it into the far post, maybe a foot or so just past Trevor Carson, but again another good opportunity or a good play from Kilmarnock.
Celtic Hearts are going to goal up at home to Clyde. Jamie Burjonis with the goal there in 51 minutes. I mean, Derek, perhaps not the best time to ask you this, given what you've just seen, but you cover a lot of the Championship games for us. Who would you expect to be right up there come the end of the season?
Thistle, Inverness and Dundee, I'm not too sure. Listen, I'm watching a game where it's top against bottom and there is nothing in the game whatsoever. I would actually say Accies have slightly been the better side this afternoon. They started brightly again in the second half and they've just levelled, so this game, it's finely balanced at the moment, Kenny, and this is the strange thing. That's the thing I love about the Championship. There is nothing between the two.
Did you think Ayr United will be in the mix this year?
Oh, sorry, Ayr United, about Bill.
The goal scoring have got.
Yes, absolutely up top. He's formidable. So, what I witnessed last week and also what I've watched a couple of times already this season. But this is an Accies side that I expected maybe this afternoon to feel a little bit sorry for themselves. Anything but, and fair play to John Rankin, because he's got them fired up and they're well in this game, that's for sure.
Craig Easton, what's your assessment of that Dundee squad, Craig Easton? Do you expect them to be up there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the team at the moment and they've got a lot of experience running through. Jordan McGee in the middle of the park there's a lot of energy there. He can go and play a number of positions. You've got Paul McMullen, a lot of quality. He's been played in the Premier League. You've got Luke McCowan as well there. Two good strikers in Zach Running, Selling Sheridan, but Gary Boyer today wasn't happy with their output in the first half, and rightly so. He was quite a bold move. He's made 2 changes, one's paid off, and Zach Robinson's repaid that with a nice little finish with for the second goal. But yeah, Dundee should be up there. Ayr United at the moment are looking a bit, I know Deepo Akinyemi last week, you know, he scored a hat-trick. He's been kept very quiet by Ryan Sweeney and Tyler French and the 2 Dundee centre-halves today.
Really good chance for Cove Rangers there, Kenny. It was as you'd probably expect most of the time, it does fall to Mitch Megginson. It just fell to him with left-footed just inside the box, but really good save to his right by Mark Ridgers and Inverness Cali goal. So they still lead 1-0. And I was just looking up how old Billy Mackay is there. It seems like he has been in Scottish football for absolute ages. He's still just 33, so plenty yet to offer. He had a big part in the first goal here, or the only goal so far. He's a great player.
Challenge here. Commander was a yellow card. I wasn't sure. I think Leanne was a covering defender there. I think that, anyway, it's a free kick for St Mirren right on the edge of the box. They've given the ball away. Covering defender. I think it's Stokes comes across and brings them down. Leanne, I'm not sure if you think it's a last man situation or not.
No, I would say in first viewing that there was a covering defender just coming round the right hand side, maybe 5 to 10 yards outside the box. Probably a good foul to make, to be honest, but a yellow card, I think the right decision.
Alloa have opened the scoring at home to Airdrie. Luke Donnelly there on 55 minutes. Wolves have opened the scoring 1-0 up against Nottingham Forest. What a struggle it has been for Steve Cooper's side. Ruben Neves with a goal there on 56. Kelty has some doubled advantage. Yes.
3-1, it's the substitute Eli Yuhan that gets it. Martin Boyle picks up the ball on the right hand side, and Eli Yuhan, it seems to have been acres of space. I don't know what's going on at the back for Celtic. It's a simple ball and literally just kicks it into the net from about 7-8 yards out. It's poor defending from Celtic. Have had 2 chances to build on their lead in this half, but Hibs look better in the 3-5-2 and they're back in this. It's 3-1.
Rory, I was watching that as play was developing there, and I was thinking, God, Hibs are in possession. There's no real urgency because players just didn't look as if they were looking to get beyond the play, and then all of a sudden it just opened up. Couple of passes, ball down the side. Defensively, as you say, I don't know what Celtic are doing. Completely switched off, and it's just a poor goal to concede. But for Hibs' part, a brilliant goal to score because they've played through the thirds, have kept the ball on the grass, and it's a great finish.
Definitely, and in fairness to Lee Johnson, he's been brave. You know, I wondered before the game settled in the second half what they would do, but Boyle's played right up the pitch with Eli Yuhan. Just before that, Maeda had a great chance. O'Reilly plays him through, and on the angle, I'm just expecting him to open his body up and try and slow it in the far corner. It was on to do so, but he's just lacking a little bit of confidence. Tries to pass it and it gets cut out, and then before he knows it, Hibs have scored. So it makes this game a little bit more interesting than at 3-0.
Should Joe Hart have done better there?
I don't think so. Sorry, Leanne. Do you think so, Leanne? I think that his defence has got to do better. I mean, there's not much he can do from that range.
Near post though, Rory.
Near post is probably what I would say. I know he's
chance for Forrest, hat-trick! Goal!
My goodness.
Just as Hibs get back in it, they punish themselves. I think it's Aaron Moy who plays the ball out to James Forrest on a hat-trick. I think it maybe takes a little nick off Paul Hannon on its way in. Finds its way into the top corner. Game is well and truly over. Celtic 4, Hibs 1.
That definitely takes a deflection, I think, Rory, but there's an answer, isn't it? Just when you think you're back in the game, Hibs get turned over in the middle of the pitch. I'm not sure who it was with the poor touch. It allows Celtic in. James Forrest is wide open in the right hand side, backlines all over the place, and it's far too easy.
Just interesting enough, there's an inquest going on at the back end of the pitch as that's went in. They've celebrated. Carter Vickers, Jens, Bernabeu and Hart are in discussions about that goal. They're not happy with it at all. Looks like Bernabeu's maybe taking the brunt of it, but it'll be interesting to see. Again, I just felt in terms of the front post, it was, maybe it should be further across, but I mean, he's so close in, Yuhan. It's not as if he's got it's not as if he's got the full goal to aim at. I just think that it's poor defending in my opinion, but Bernabeu seems to take the stick.
Rory, did the match announcer say his 100th goal for Celtic?
A pass, Alan. I don't know. It's pretty noisy in here, and I was talking over it, so I missed that. Quite possibly.
I tell you what, though, from a Hibs perspective, that is an absolutely shocking goal to concede, Rory. Defensively, I know they're in possession of the ball almost, but they're literally a back two, and they're overcompensated in the right hand side. The amount of space that James Forrest is in because he's anticipating the mistake.
Leanne, do you think Hibs over-celebrated their goal maybe?
I don't know why.
Alan Alan, do you want to come in on that?
I'll stick to what I know. Stick to what I've been told by one of the best managers Scotland ever produced. And I'll leave it right there.
Just throw that wee grenade in there.
It was good fun that last week, I have to say. Call it a draw.
I'll tell you what to do, he's not on the programme, but ask Willie Miller. What to do is the next time Willie Miller's watch will be tomorrow, Kenny. Ask Willie what he did.
I rarely listen to what Willie says, to be honest, Alan, so...
Maybe you should. Maybe you should, Tom. Maybe you should. Tom, do you celebrate a good column? Or when you get a good interview, running away, celebrating?
I'm not sure the two things are comparable.
Hold on, I'm looking for a penalty here. No chance.
Oh dear, I think there's some choice language coming through there. Apologies, it wasn't very clear to me, but it didn't sound great, so apologies, we heard something coming through the mics there.
Kenny, just to say we're underway in the second half at Carpolo.
Right guys, let's open this out to all our pundits. Myself, Tom and Leanne were at a VAR masterclass on Thursday held with the SFA.
Chance.
Chance.
Oh, it's a goal!
Yeah.
Dundee United have got themselves level. Great play for Glenn Middleton down the left hand side. He got dived in behind Jack Baldwin. Baldwin was careful not to clip him. He got into the box, he faced him up, and I thought he was going to get a ball across the face. Baldwin defended it well, it ricocheted back to him. He got it across the goal, and Tony Watt, in the middle of the goals, swivelled and put into the back of the net with his left foot. There's 1-1 here at Dingwall.
Yeah, Glenn Middleton, as you say, Michael does really, really well. Gets a break of the ball, I think, just after the initial bit of good work that he does, but he persists with it, and it's a brilliant ball back across. Good finish from Tony Watt.
Yes, well, a decent wee run for Dundee United. We covered their fantastic victory over Aberdeen last Saturday evening on Sports Sound, and they followed it up with a home win, a narrow home win against Hibs midweek. So has anyone got any concerns, any questions on VAR? On you go, Craig.
Sorry, kind of go at Dens Park here. Ayr United have pulled one back through Josh Mulligan. Great run down the side by Deepo Akinyemi. He went 1v1 with Ryan Sweeney. He cut the ball back. There was a little bit of a deflection from a shot, and then it was Josh Mulligan smashing in past Adam Legdon. 2-1 Dundee.
Each 5-5 equalised against Bonnyrigg Rose. Ryan Schiavone on 62 minutes. So guys, anyone got any concerns, any questions on VAR? We've got two experts in the studio this afternoon. Anyone worried about it?
It will still come down to what humans think about decisions. As simple as that. You know, that's it.
Kenny, I watched the programme this morning, and when they were discussing the penalty with the young boys that were playing the game, and it was, you know, watching them try to come to a decision. I think the two of them were very unsure, the two refs, but I'm not sure who they were, but then they decided to give it, and then when the guys that were watching them...
Here's a chance for Livy! Great save! Really good play. Stevie Kelly running through, slips in Jason Holt. His shot's well saved by Matthews. Livy have been brilliant in the second half, dominating the St Johnstone side and still lead 1-0.
And that's what I was saying, when the two guys that were watching them, you know, go through what they have to do, they come over and they thought it wasn't a penalty kick. So there you go. There's still going to be drama, there's still going to be indecision, but I think it has to come because hopefully we get more correct decisions.
I think what they had also said, Derek, when they were doing that kind of trial match, was that for the referee in charge, if there was anything that they could almost give as a decision, so that they could almost prove that the technology was worthwhile having. So maybe most of the referee wouldn't have given that as a handball. It would have got the decision right to start with. But they gave the handball.
Sorry, Leanne.
No, you're okay.
What a goal. He's one of my favourite players. It's Tiffany for Thistle. It's a short corner kick. Aki's just they switch off momentarily. He just takes the ball at the angle into the box. I tell you what, he just absolutely puts his foot through it. Thumps it past the keeper. Fulton absolutely no chance. So Thistle back in the lead 2-1.
Every time he scores, I think of that horrendous bit of acting from Ian McCall. Do you remember the social media post about out? No. Breakfast at Tiffany, do you remember it?
No.
Oh, you have to see it. It was absolutely dreadful. Yeah, have a look at that one.
See, when you're talking about VAR, do you think we'll have a referee that will be asked to go over and have a look at the screen and then sticks with his call?
Alan, I asked that question. I asked that question. Did they feel under pressure, especially if there's a more senior referee, back at the VAR headquarters who's looking at, who's recommended to go over, and they said no, absolutely, the final decision, and there's no input at that point.
Kenny,
from the VAR
what do you expect them to say? What do you expect them to say, Kenny?
No, but we're seeing down in England and elsewhere already referees kind of sticking with their on-field decision, which hasn't been happening, but we are seeing the rise of that
chance
now.
Kilmarnock miss another absolute snap. But a chance again for Jordan Jones. Sorry, it's Rory McKenzie right through with the keeper of beat, and that same right footer Trevor Carson stuck out again. He's got to score again, Leanne, I'll tell you. He's about 8 yards out. He's 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper. He's not under that much pressure. Pick a corner that again didn't do himself justice, and
what
still 0-0 here in St Mirren.
So what happens if the system goes down? I heard, I think it was Leanne mentioning that he was shown what the backup is, because you look at the game Arsenal v Liverpool last week, and by all accounts they couldn't judge whether the first goal was offside or not, and then Arsenal's penalty, which was extremely soft, I don't think it was a penalty, and I'm led to believe that the system went down and they couldn't review it. Now if I was Liverpool, you've basically had 2 goals against you. The first one they've not been able to check whether it was in line or not, and the winning goal was a penalty that wasn't reviewed, which in my opinion wasn't a penalty. So what's the comeback?
Joe Hart's just passed it straight to Josh Campbell. The flag goes off. I don't know why. Maybe because he's in the box. Sorry, Michael, but I don't know what Joe Hart's thinking there. In the meantime, Hibs have missed a great chance through Rocky Bashiri, a header from a Joe Newell corner, and Mark Boyle cuts inside and whizzes just past the post. On your question, Michael, on Thursday they'd said that there was a backup screen and also a backup phone. So if the first screen goes down, there's another screen, and if that one goes down, there's also a phone as well where they can communicate back at the base.
Well, like the bat phone. Something like that.
Sounded something like that, yeah, Alan. But
that sounds better, actually, Alan.
It was very impressive, Leanne, wasn't it? It was a great setup.
Yeah, it was. No, it was great, and I think the operators as well that are alongside the assistant, almost referee, and the assistant referee too, very knowledgeable as well, very good at what they do in relation to the technology and how that operates. And I think they'll be a huge help because they are impartial. They are allowed no input as to operating the system. Everything is recorded as well, so all the audio that is transcribed from every incident that's looked at. There's nothing that anybody can think that there's going to be something happened there that somebody's almost making that decision that doesn't have the right to make the decision. So I thought all that clarity was very good to see. And the setups, every booth that has the cameras has got another camera that views onto it. So no, really impressive.
And the fact that everything will be checked, whether it's a silent check or not. If people, there's a certain amount of education required here. If people say, why wasn't that foul gone to VAR? Well, in fact, in the nerve centre, it will have been looked at. A silent check, and the communication would be nothing to see, but they will have checked it.
And that programme that Derek referred to, VAR, friend or foe, that's an iPlayer right now, and it will be in the BBC Scotland channel on Thursday night.
The one thing, Kenny, that I think a lot of fans, managers and whatnot might struggle with, and for me even as a player, is that attacking phase of play that they speak about. So for example, if a corner's awarded which leads to a goal, but the corner actually was the wrong decision, that won't be taken into account. Yes. The attacking phase of play will only start at the point the corner is taken. So again, if you're a club that then go and concede in that moment and you feel aggrieved at it won't be looked at. So those types of decisions will frustrate a lot of fans.
And also this clear and obvious thing, that terminology still exists.
Yes.
In there, it's actually a bit of a misnomer now, and I think it'll be taken out completely after the World Cup. It's not clear and obvious. They want to get the right decision whether it's clear and obvious or not. So people will say, but that wasn't clear or it wasn't obvious. It was like a minuscule kind of offside. But it was offside, it's offside, whether it's clear or obvious or not.
And the right thing to introduce this now?
Yeah, listen, if it's ready, and they've trialled it and it is, bring it in. Because the example that I use, if it's a massive decision made, controversial decision made in a big game, and they got the wrong decision and we were sitting on VAR not using it, people will go, why aren't you using VAR?
Alan?
I just think some teams are going to get a bit of an advantage over it, I really do.
Is there a single country elsewhere in the world that has introduced VAR halfway through a season?
I think Darryl said Poland at one point.
What difference does it make? What difference?
Well, because it's the point being that you are changing system midway through a competition, which is forget it. To me, it's a misnomer going on about, the system's ready, why don't you use it? You need to look at the bigger picture. Why is the system ready halfway through a season? Why is it not ready at the start of a campaign?
Why invest in the system though and not use it when it's available?
No, you're missing the point. Why is it not ready at the start of a campaign? You work your way back from, right, we need the system to be ready at X date, and then you work your way back to make sure that it's ready at that point.
I think that was already discussed though. Financially, the clubs, the money situation at the beginning didn't allow them to order the equipment without knowing that it was going to be given the go-ahead and whatnot, so it didn't play out well enough that it was available and ready and that the referees using it were trained and able to use it. Also, Michael, that we're going to go through a process of probably 1 month, 2 months, 3 months where we're still trying to iron out everything that's going on. So would you rather just bring that in at the start of a season and have all those teething problems? Just get it in, let's get used to it, let's train up everybody else to use it.
No, it's just you're changing the system halfway through. It makes no sense whatsoever.
Do you want right decisions or not?
But look, do you
want correct decisions or not?
No, Tom.
You don't?
Tom, no, you're missing the bigger picture, what I just said again. The bigger picture is, why is it ready now and not at the start of the campaign? That comes down to competence of organisation. That's the bigger picture, not a case of why, if it's ready, why not use it?
Okay, that's a different argument. Do you want to bring it in now or not?
No, I would rather wait until the end of the season, personally.
So a massive decision which might determine the league title, European places, relegation.
There's massive decisions that have already happened.
Hang on.
There's massive decisions.
Those massive decisions that could determine a huge amount. If those decisions are wrong, and VAR would have overturned those decisions, you're saying that's fair enough?
But Tom, there are massive decisions that have already happened for clubs throughout the season.
We have VAR ready to go now that would possibly correct and bring justice to those situations. You're saying let's not have that justice.
Sorry, what about the clubs that have had decisions that have gone against them already this season? Tough luck, is that?
Well, all right. So you're saying in the second half of the season doesn't matter. Let's go with wrong decisions.
It doesn't matter.
Let's
it's
go
a
with
case
wrong
of
decisions.
what you're saying. The first half of the season's okay. We just go with the wrong decisions.
It wasn't ready, and you could say it should have been ready. Fact is, it wasn't.
Right.
Fact is, it's ready now.
It's a level playing field. It's a level playing field.
It's a level playing field for everybody here on in.
Tom, during COVID, when there was no supporters there, more away teams won than home, because crowds, regardless what anybody thinks, crowds affect referees. So if you've had more home games without VAR, you've got an advantage. That's proven. Absolutely proven. Until it's no nonsense, Tom. It's out there. I think it's York University done a study on it. There was more away wins during COVID because crowds they influence referees and their decisions. It's as simple as that.
I didn't say it was nonsense, Alan. What I would say is that with thinking like that, we'd never go anywhere. The stuff is ready. It advances the game.
Tom,
let's bring it in.
Tom, right. You're ignoring the bigger picture and the point I'm making here.
No, I accept your point.
Yes.
I accept your point.
But you're saying that it's like with thinking like that, you'd never progress.
Yeah.
I don't agree.
Yeah.
No.
Goal! Yep. Georgios Giacomakis. He makes it 5. Kyogo's on the pitch now. Big questions. Can they play together? Well, on this evidence they can. Celtic bust down the right hand side. It's far too easy from a Hibs point of view. Paul Hanlon gets dragged out. The ball's cut back. Georgios Giacomakis with all the space in the world, the freedom of Celtic Park to roll it in off the post to make it 5-1.
Great goal, Rory. Comes from a wide area again. Brilliant ball. Don't know who it is. It plays that through ball. Defence splitting pass down the right hand side. It's been the story of Celtic's game. Wide areas, the product, the delivery, the final ball. It's been absolutely excellent, and the finish is there.
Is that a bad
to top it all off? Yeah. Question marks, just perhaps maybe a bit offside. Looking at it across the line just now, it is tight, but I think he's on. The guys in Sports Scene later will probably get a better look at it.
Yeah, Stephen Thompson will be with us after 5 o'clock talking about some of the big issues they'll be focusing on the programme tonight. Some goal updates: Cooney the South 2, Peterhead 0, Josh Todd. Kelty Hearts 2, Clyde pulled a goal back 1, Jordan Allen on 63. East Fife turned it around against Bonnyrigg. They're now 2-1 up away from home there. Other goals: Annan 1, Stranraer 1 now. James Hilton with equaliser in 65 minutes. East Fife have got another one, Ryan Schiavone on 67 minutes, 3-1 up away to Bonnyrigg Rose. And just going through the other score lines for you at the moment, that's them all up to date. And Rory just telling us they're a 5th for Celtic, Giacomakis on 73 minutes. Let's then get to Jim Duffy. Any sign of the deadlock being broken there, Jim?
No, as I mentioned, those couple of fantastic chances, one-on-one situations for Lafferty and for McKenzie, both saved by Carson, but Lafferty's now been subbed, Dodge's on. There's been a raft of substitutions, I won't give you them all, but both teams try to freshen up, try to look for that spark. But if this game does finish 0-0, there's no doubt that Derek McInnes will be the most frustrated manager.
And to yourself, Alan Preston, Livingston still edging things there at Ammanvale.
Yeah, they're the better side. St Johnstone have been really disappointing in the second half. Livy have hemmed them in at times, but they've not got that second goal. Still 1-0.
And Michael, all square, one apiece. Is that a fair reflection in play there in Dingwall?
Probably, yeah. I think that Dundee United, as I said, have started the second half, or we're into a fair chunk of it now, but they've been brighter in the second half here. They probably deserve getting level. But the game's on a knife edge here at the moment. Ross County is still looking a little bit dangerous, as if they could get themselves in front again. So yeah, 1-1's probably a fair reflection at this stage.
Kyogo's just hit the post, Leanne. Watch this, how bad the defending is from him. It's from a corner. Literally, they're standing watching as Moy and I think it's Abada just play 1-2s with each other. They pass it to the edge of the box to Kyogo, and he literally just lifts his foot back before anyone reacts to him, and he hits the post. It should be 6 as McCarthy's coming on now for Giacomakis.
No, you're right. His movement, he just picks up that space, edge of the box. Nobody switched on. Bodies have dropped to protect the goal, but they do neither. They don't protect the goal and they don't get close enough to Kyogo to stop the shot.
Let's get into the championship then. Cove Rangers against title contenders Inverness, Cally Thistle. How are things looking there, Kenny Crawford?
Yeah, Cally Thistle still in control of this one. 64 minutes gone, Cove 0, Cally Thistle 1. Stephen Boyd's goal on the 19th minute. Not been a great game. A couple of half chances in the second half for Cove Rangers. Mitch Megginson shot saved by Mark Ridgers, and also a Connor Scully looping header also dealt with by the Cally Thistle goalkeeper. So still 1-0 to the visitors here.
And as things stand, Derek Ferguson, Partick Thistle level on points at the top of the championship table. They currently lead away to Hamilton Accies.
Yeah, 2-1 at the moment, Kenny, and this game's getting better and better as we go on. I think the introduction of Scott Tiffany as well, obviously he's got that goal in 65 minutes. What a goal it was as well, what a brilliant strike, but he just gave them that little kind of jag that Thistle needed, pardon the pun, but no, it's been a good game, and Accies are still in this. A base substitutions. T-Hayes come on up top with Andy Ryan, so they're still posing a problem, and it's end to end at the moment, and more substitutions coming, but no, this has been a good game this afternoon, and at the minute it stands 2-1 to Thistle.
United got themselves back into a dense park. Craig Easton, are they looking like getting back on level terms?
Well, for 5 minutes after Josh Mullen's goal, they had a few chances. They put Dundee under a little bit of pressure, but Dundee could have finished this game. Paul McMullins had 4 wonderful little passes, dinked balls over the top, nice runs from Zach Robinson, and Josh Mulligan's actually had 2 identical chances that have been cut back to him, and he's just pulled them wide. He's dragged his shot wide of the target on both occasions, and Dundee looked like the team that they were going to score the third goal, but Ayr United still in this game, and they're just trying to make a little bit of headway and put a bit of pressure on the Dundee defence.
Michael?
Dylan Levitt has hit the crossbar from probably about 35 yards, if not more. The ball came into him in the middle of the park. He opened up a fair distance out, and he gets a great strike on it. And just dipping at the last moment, Ross Laidlaw was scrambling across to try to get close to it. He couldn't get anywhere near it. Unfortunately for Ross County, it's off the crossbar and back out and away.
Yeah, some hit. Absolutely outstanding. I actually thought it was flying over the top of the crossbar, Michael, but the dip on it, the movement in the ball as well, was really unlucky.
Chick Young just over an hour played there at Capello, Chick.
Yeah, we've played 63 minutes, Kenny. It's still William Morton 0, Wraith Rovers 0. Remember, this game was held up for 15 minutes because of the late arrival of the Wraith Rovers bus. And I have to say, I've decided to come to a verdict. And John Fredrickson has much ado about nothing, and much ado about nothing at the moment actually in this game. But we have to. I mean, Morton have got forward. They've created for about 3 or 4 decent penalty claims the supporters thought they might have had, but a goal looks a long way away at this distance, so we'll hopefully get something before the afternoon is out.
No goal. Livy fans are up. Great play by Stevie Kelly on the right hand side. The ball's played in. Newbley's at the back post, but he's got his hand all over the back of Gordon, pushes him clear as day. I could see it, the fans couldn't. Ball ends up in the back of the net. No goal.
Kenny, both teams trying to get a winner here. Kilmarnock have put in his Cameron up front alongside Christian Doidge, and St Mirren brought on Eamon Brophy and tried to get him. He's now up front with Grieve for St Mirren. So both teams going with two out strikers now. Try to look for that elusive winner.
Spot on, Alan, with that Nubly call. Hands all over him, blatant as they come.
Rory, you were talking there, and we heard Ange Postecoglou asked about it pre-match in terms of Giakoumakis and Kyogo playing up top together. Would that require how much a change in system would that require?
Well, it would certainly require a change in system if he wants to go with an out-and-out 2. It's a big change from the 4-3-3. However, Giakoumakis was on the pitch with Kyogo for all of a few minutes before he went down clutching. Oh, Moyes got a chance. He's totally mishit it. Before he went down clutching his hamstring, I think, just felt a bit of tightness. Whether it was a planned substitution or whether it was an injury, I'm not quite sure. But yeah, that would be a massive change in shape. Of course it would. Maybe something to look at for Postecoglou. I don't think he'll start with it too often, but something to look at maybe halfway through a game, maybe at Champions League level if it's not going quite right or you're not able to take chances, get another body in the box. However, ultimately, if you're going to play with a 2 up front, it's a far cry from 4-3-3. So, a bit of work on the training ground possibly has went into the last few weeks to try and set him up for doing that. But like I said, it didn't last long today with Giakoumakis going off only a few minutes after Kyogo came on.
Michael, do you have concerns for Ross County this season? As the table stands, level on points at the bottom of the table with Dundee United. They're tied 9 points, minus 13 in goal difference. Killing the same points but a slightly better goal difference.
Well, I mean, it's obviously concerning that they're sitting, bottom of the table, but they're still a well-organised side, and they still do pose a threat. The difficulty for them this season is that, as I said at the start of the show, that the level of inconsistency from the other sides is not going to be anywhere near what it was last year. So the ability to be able to rifle themselves up the table won't be there. But I still think they're capable of being able to get results and get themselves out of trouble. It's just that I do think the competition's a lot stiffer this year.
I think I remember being mocked for suggesting they might finish bottom, Kenny.
Who did that? Come on, Chick, name names.
I said I remember. Well, who mocked it? I think you, for a start.
All right. I don't remember that. I've actually got all the predictions written down from the start of the season. I've got them all written down, so we'll refer back to them.
I think Michael's right. I mean, anything could happen, couldn't it, in this league if you take obviously Rangers and Celtic out of the equation. But I mean, it's going to ebb and flow through the season. And I heard you at half time on when I was still in action here, suggesting they might get involved.
Oh, what a chance it was for Andy Ryan. He's clean through, penalty spot, goal at his mercy. He absolutely skies it well over the bar. What an opportunity that was to get back in level terms.
A man is breaking from the halfway line here, Kenny. He's one-on-one with Paul Hannon. It'll be interesting to see if he can go by him. He cuts inside, he wastes it. It was a lightning quick counter-attack as Kyogo is now down in the middle of the pitch, which will be a concern. But Abada wasted that one.
Tom, who have you got concerns about in these early stages in terms of
the drop?
Yeah.
I would have concerns about Ross County, Kilmarnock. They'd be my main two. Dundee United, I think, are gathering a bit of form, a bit of confidence. I think they'll play their way out of it. They'd be my main two.
For yourself, Leanne?
Yeah, I'd probably agree with Tom if I'm being honest. I think Dundee United are a better side than what they've shown, and I would expect them...
Sorry, Leanne, I'll just interrupt you. It's 13 months after a really serious knee injury. David Witherspoon comes onto the field for St Johnstone. Brilliant to see the young man back. He's got, I think, 6 games now to try and impress and get in the Canada squad for the World Cup in Qatar. But great news for St Johnstone and for David Witherspoon.
It's great to see him back, Alan, isn't it? It was devastated for him when he picked up that injury. Just a player that we've been so used to seeing in the Scottish game. But just to get back to the point there, Kenny, about the teams that I fear for, as I say, Dundee United I think will rally. They'll get better as the season goes on. If they can galvanise themselves in terms of that defensive performance, which was lacking for the first part of the season, I think they'll be okay. Teams, like St Johnstone, we've spoken about them, they carry more of a goal threat, so I would hope that for their sake they've got enough to keep them out of the danger zone, but the margins are so fine.
Leanne, you have a look at Stevie May off the ball, has gone down off the ball. No one's seen it. He's holding his head. He's now back up on his feet. I didn't see it. The fourth official clearly has not seen it.
No, I don't see anything that's come up on the screen. I'll keep a wee eye out for it just in case it gives us a rerun.
So Livingston against St Johnstone, Alan. Saints started the game very, very well there, but as is usually the case through there, apart from last week when they were beaten by Ross County through the Almond Vale, Livingston just grinding it out.
They are, and they've been a better side, Kenny. They deserve to be ahead. St Johnstone have not done enough. Livingston have had chances, but they've dominated the second half. Callum's now made his 5 changes in the afternoon. No more for him, but he'll be hoping he can still get back in it. But just this Livingston team are so dogged under David Martindale. They really are. Newbley, we've touched on it before. Great feet. Creates chance after chance after chance. Young Stevie Kelly, first time I've seen him in a number of years. Played down at Salford last year. They've eventually got him on a full-time contract here. He's a good player. He'll do well for Livingston as well. And I've always liked Pittman. I'm really surprised that, all due respect to Livingston, that Pittman's still here, because I think he scores goals for the middle of the park.
Just to talk about VAR again, and why is it being introduced mid-season, and Michael and Alan have obviously issues with that. The reason it's been introduced, the clubs want it introduced, so they are prepared to run the risk of any kind of imbalance in the 2 halves of the seasons, one with VAR, one without VAR. They're prepared to run that risk. It wouldn't have come in if the clubs didn't want it.
Do you know what the problem is? We've spent too much time talking about VAR, not the football, and what effect it'll have on the game. I mean,
well, hopefully a good effect, hopefully.
Well, but we're just talking about VAR. We should be talking about the football. That's what I'm trying to say.
Michael, can I just come to you in your game now? I know there's a bit of an instant there between Fletcher. I'm not sure how that is on the ground as well, but it looked like a 50-50. That both players seem to have come out of it with a real sore one.
I don't fully understand. I think it's Purrington that went into the tackle with Fletcher. And he looks like he's going to have to come off, but I don't...
It's almost as if they've clashed shins.
That must be because, I instinctively thought it was just like you would imagine where Purrington's trying to block it, Fletcher's trying to kick it, and I thought he's kicked like the bottom of Purrington's boot, but Purrington's like having to get carried off here, and
I think Purrington actually gets the contact on it, and Fletcher, they come together, but it's the height, almost that awkward height where they've both gone for it, but a real sore one. Fletcher looks as if he's really laboured as well, and he's not long on the pitch.
No, Stephen Fletcher's able to shake it off, whereas Purrington, he's hobbling off here.
Chick, do you not accept that given the level of debate we had there on VAR, and it's an issue that's talked about every week, we talk about refereeing decisions, there's been a millions and millions of pound investment in Scottish football, it's coming in, it's going to be talked about, it starts next weekend, it's going to create an awful lot of debate, and that's before it even gets in.
Of course it is, but it's there to help improve the football. And we're talking about the VAR and not what's happening within the game. Is it improving the decisions? Is it improving the flow of the game? I think generally, for example, it's better used. Rugby apply it much better than football has for me. I mean, it takes away, games get stopped. Rugby inform the supporters what is happening. They seem to handle it much better, informing the fans there. I think that's something we've got to learn. It seems to me we're just talking about the technology of it all. And let's get talking about the game again.
I tell you, that's a good point, Tom. And actually, at Ibrox, we were waiting on the Harvey Elliott goal, which I think we all agreed very quickly was obviously a goal. It seemed to take an awful long time. Yeah,
look, speed. They want to make the right decision, but they need to. I think they're very mindful that they need to make quicker decisions. Some of them take too long. On Chick's point on rugby, there's a bit of a pushback against the TMO, is what they call it in rugby. In that referees are now empowered to stick with your decision. Stop using the TMO as a crutch as often as you're doing, because it was interminable delays in rugby. Different sport, piles of bodies, is it a try or not? It's sometimes impossible to see the ball being grounded. Football won't have those, but certainly in rugby, Chick, the referees are saying, look, we're being told, stop using it as a crutch as much.
1-on-1 here. Oh, good save, David Marshall. He stands tall, narrows the angle and makes a good save, but Leela Bada should do better there. He's 1-on-1. The fullback, the substitute for Hibs, Marianne Cabraya, had an absolute shocker on the halfway line, totally miscontrolled it. Abada ran 1-on-1, but David Marshall makes the save.
I love going 2-0 up at home to Airdrie. Ross McIver in 87 minutes. Stirling Albion, this terrific run they're on. It looks like staying that way. They've now gone ahead 2-1 away to Stennismuir. Paul McLean in 84.
Chance goal! It stays in my head that it's Aaron Moy who picks the ball up in the middle of the pitch. Like I said earlier, he's grew into the game, good technician, good range of passing. He clutched the ball with his left foot over the top, dies Nathan Maida gets on the end of it. Looks like he maybe hits his studs and just crawls into the corner off the post. Celtic make it 6.
It's a great delivery from Moy over the top.
Yeah.
Rory, I'm drawn to Kyogo's reaction as the ball hits the back of the net. Is he disappointed that Maida's got on the end of it?
Whose reaction, sorry, Leah?
Kyogo. He hits the ground as if he's devastated that he hasn't got on the end of it. He actually looked like that after Giamakis scored as well.
Aye, definitely. I mean, Kyogo will have come on the pitch, Lehan, and as a striker coming on the pitch, if your strike partner before your striker partner who started before you has come off with 2 goals, then you're going to be keen to be on the score sheet with the amount of chances coming up. It's only a natural reaction.
I don't think he knew that Maeda was also in behind as well. I think he was more focused in his movement, very similar type movement. He's outstretched to try and get it, then he falls on his backside, he sees the ball hit the back of the net and he just throws himself to the grass. But as I say, brilliant ball from Moy over the top.
I was actually waiting on the flag going up. It looked
very tight. Very tight. Again,
it's very clinical from Celtic, but the defending for Hibs today has been dreadful. It's been an abomination.
Well, we speak again, Tom, about Rangers' performance against Liverpool. You know, in the manner of defeat, it's one to dissect from Hibs today. You know, 6-1 at Celtic Park. Is that acceptable at this level of the game?
6-1, and Celtic not at all flattered by the 6.
No, and we'll hear from Lee Johnson live after the game. Any sign, Jim Duffy, of a winner through there in Paisley?
Well, just as you say that, Commander going to take a game within his camera into the channel. You know, it looks, I mean, the clock's just been up for 3 minutes. As I said, both teams have got, you know, a little bit more firepower on. As the ball comes in, and Doidge was fine for it, but doesn't get enough contact on it. So, I mean, I can't see a winner at this moment in time, Kenny. I think both teams will maybe just settle now for the point. It's not been a classic by any stretch of imagination, but Kamalik have definitely created the better chances.
Chance for Ali Crawford to get an equaliser. It's a good ball in from McLean on the right hand side. It doesn't get enough on the header, goes straight to the keeper. We've played the 90 minutes almost here at Livingston. We're just about to see what the fourth official is going to add on, and that'll be 4 minutes, still 1-0 to Livy.
Same here, Kenny, and Aki's are absolutely piling on the pressure. Snedden's just pulled off one of the best saves I've seen in a good while, even, well, certainly this season. Andy Ryan again, I mean, he thumped one well over, but it was a brilliant header. The keeper's going to his left, had to react, and somehow, don't know how he got to it, come back to his right hand side and palmed it round the corner. But Aki's just piling everything into the box. But Thistle, you know, standing up to it at the moment. We've only got seconds to go.
Stirling Albion now 3-1 up away to Stenhousemuir. Aaron Dunsmore on 87 minutes. Queen of the South have beaten Peterhead by 2-0. Now East Fife 4-1 up away to Bonnyrigg Rose. Alexander Ferguson in the 90th minute. And that is you right up to date with all the goal news deep into the closing stages in Scotland this afternoon. So in the Premiership, as things stand, Celtic absolutely rampant against Hibs this afternoon. 6-1 they lead. Livingston 1-0 up against St Johnstone. Saints have other chances. 1-1 in Dingwall Ross County against Dundee United. United in one crash off the bar, and as Jim telling us there, going into stoppage time in Paisley, very tight, 0-0, but Kilmarnock had the better of things through there. So, just about a few minutes to go. We'll hear from Lee Johnson, a sole one for his side this afternoon. I'm sure Ange Postecoglou will be delighted and never stopped today. They went right at it from the first whistle. You know, we heard earlier on from John Collins said as an opposition manager, you get a choice. Do you set in, do you try and frustrate, or do you try and go ahead, go right from the start and get into the game and trying to have something to hold on to? But they're just really, and Kenny Miller actually said, Tom, didn't he? Sometimes you just don't have a choice. The starts that Celtic make, they are dictating what's happening in that game.
Yeah, listen, they made a great start for us. You know, puts them on the front foot from early on, and they haven't looked back. And this is a kind of, you know, Celtic could do this to most teams in the league. You know, they put 4 on Rangers. So putting 6 on Hibs when they're in this kind of form is not a huge surprise because they have it. You know, they've got the goal scorers, even though they've started with a few goal scorers on the bench. When Forrest comes in and he gets 3, it just shows you the kind of artillery they have in reserve. This is a well-resourced team in Scottish football terms, and this kind of thing can happen. Hibs have not made it difficult for them at all. No. That's the disappointing thing from Hibs. Hibs have kind of been very passive. Defensively,
I think they
they've been very
underestimated
poor.
Celtic a little bit. I think they set out with all good intentions to try and be competitive, and totally underestimated the strength of the Celtic side, Tom.
Big win in the Championship. Hamilton Accies 1, Partick Thistle 2.
Could be a big win in League One. Dunfermline have scored late on against Edinburgh, 1-0 up in the 89th minute. Liam Fontaine with the goal.
Celtic 6, Hibs 1.
Thanks to Rory there. So we'll hear from both managers live on Sports Sound this afternoon. So that's our first full-time score in the top flight. Any sign of a winner in Dingwall, Michael Stewart?
There's been a couple of good balls thrown into the box for Ross County. It was Jan de Handa that put the balls in. It looked as if they were going to get a second phase, but Iacovitti shoved one of the Dundee United defenders, giving away a cheap foul. They're knocking away, trying to force the ball forward. They've got a free kick now in a dangerous area with a chance to throw it into the box. But still at the moment 1-1.
McLennan at the back post. He's got to read the ball. It's a good ball in by Ali Crawford. Leanne, you'll have a look at it. Can he get on the end of it? He's got to throw himself at it. It's a wonderful ball in. Still 1-0. We're into the final seconds here at Livingston.
Yeah, it's such
Kenny,
a dangerous
that's full
cross.
time up in Aberdeen. It's Cove Rangers 0, Inverness Cally Thistle 1, and a late red card as well for Leighton McIntosh. He looked to move his head towards Zach Delaney when it all got a bit heated in the box. So good win for Cally Thistle.
I can also tell you full time in Paisley, St Mirren 0, Kilmarnock 0.
It's another ball in from Handa. It was a free kick. He whipped it round the back of the defence, and just looking there, I think it's Iacovitti or Jack Baldwin. One of them gets up and gets his full head on it, but he just can't get on target.
That's full time. Full time at Dens Park. It's Dundee 2, Ayr United 1.
Thanks to Craig Easton there. A big win for the home side there at Dens Park.
And that's full time here at Dingwall, Kenny. 1-1.
Okay, thanks to Michael. So just a game at Almond Vale. Alan Preston Saints pushing for that equaliser.
They are, but they are. The keeper's thinking about going up. It's going to be a long throw-in by McGowan on the right-hand side. The time has come and gone. The 4 minutes added on. We're now into a 5th minute as the throw-in comes in. This has to be the last chance, but it's going to be a corner. The goalie is now coming up. He's on his way up. Matthews, he's sprinting up the park. Every single player, with the exception of Montgomery, is in that box.
We love to see this, don't we? When the keeper
It's
goes
incredible. They're all up.
Right, Alan,
it's
talk us
coming
through
in here. It comes in. It's played to the back post. It's come out, and there goes the final whistle. Oh, it's a free kick. The Livingston fans think it's a final whistle. I'm sure it will be when the free kick is taken. Time has come and gone here almost, Kenny. Still 1-0 to the home side, and they've deserved it. They have deserved it. They've had more attempts at goal, more of the ball. St Johnstone really poor after a great 15-20 minutes at the start of this game. And there we go. Who is that?
Still with it.
It's Newbley.
Oh, a bit of afters there.
A couple of players involved there. I think it's Newbley had the ball in his hands and he was taking his time, and I'm sure the St Johnstone player is at McGowan. Not happy. It's up the far end for me. I think it's Ryan McGowan. Not happy, and the referee is going to brandish a yellow card, I'm sure. Yeah, to McGowan.
Don't forget, Kenny, I've got 8 minutes to go here.
And to Oberlai. It's Oberlai it is. But this has to be it. As soon as the keeper takes this kick, this has to be the game over. You would imagine we're now into the 6th minute. He was only adding on 4. Callum's tried everything. He's put 5 subs on, but they've not been at it after the initial 15. In fact, the referee just blows the final whistle. Livingston 1, St Johnstone 0.
Okay, thank you to Alan Preston. As Chick said there, he is still going down at Capello. He'll bring us all the news in that game. Morton against Wraith Rovers. But let's get round to the rest of the grounds now in Sports Sound and get the full-time reports.
Oh!